really good. And other scenes kind of like looked a bit
Oh shit!
a bit.
So
yeah, like John
I don't
says,
think you're even allowed to ever call anything dog shit again.
Yeah. You've lost
There's
your
definitely
privileges.
two halves.
Yeah. I like, again, I'm not going to get too into it, but I do feel like there was like two sides fighting when they were making the movie, but I'll go into that later.
Rob, you muted yourself at like a critical point of that.
I'm what?
No, you just did it again.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that I've put myself on like temporary unmute because of Frank, but Frank's not out here anymore, so that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Right, Humphrey, what do you want to nominate for this round? And you can't pick Tokyo Gore, please.
Oh,
Unless you want to lower the score,
What?
then that's
Yeah.
okay.
that
If
don't
you want to
work.
lower it, that's fine.
Sorry, Alec, before that,
Oh,
let me
shit.
say something about my take on the film, and then I have to go. Sorry.
Oh yeah, let him know.
Oh yeah, you're good. Go for it.
Sorry. After watching that, and hearing what Camilla said, she's got side eye on me.
Then you watched it.
I'm sleepy. Anyway.
Okay.
Her telling me how many awards and whatnot it won in Japan. I'm starting to get that. Yes, I'm not one of the people who would appreciate this film and the way it was intended. John saying how it was made that way very deliberately, reminding me of some of the kind of classic Gojira kind of material out there. I'm starting to get why it was made the way it was. I still feel how I do about it, but I get its concept more, which is also why I put the impact the way I did. I know it might be maybe lower. I also thought in terms of purpose, it's okay. In terms of purpose, I also think the idea was good and cool. And Shin Godzilla, just like new Godzilla. Okay, cool. That makes sense. It came about because of basically something that's either actually happened or something that could happen that's very much like the corrupt side of Japan, for companies to just be dumping radioactive waste illegally, even though they know how devastating it could be. For that to be like the creation of Gojira, this is cool. That's cool. It's even though Gojira isn't like a real thing, it's also kind of a cool nod to actual circumstances. But yeah, I still really don't like it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. This is another movie that's very targeted at a very specific audience.
Yeah.
Yes. I 100% agree. And I'm sorry, John, that I know you won't take offense.
I was going to say, don't apologize for not liking a movie. Who cares?
It's a Marmite film, 100%.
Well, no, it's not a Marmite film. It's designed for a specific audience.
But it's still kind of like two different, like this call, for instance, like.
Well, hang on.
It's firmly against
before we get into it too much, let Emmanuel finish because he needs to go.
Yeah. Go on, Emmanuel.
That's pretty much it. And last question at Simon.
Mm-hmm.
Camilla showed me this thing from Austin Powers that I actually didn't see. Or I must have saw, if I did see, I wiped it from my memory. You know what scene I'm talking about.
Yes, it's the guy from Heroes.
Yes. Did you? Yeah, I thought it was the guy from Heroes anyway. As soon as I saw that, oh,
that was also my
Heroes.
gonna be my introduction to it as well. Essentially, I was going to talk to you about the story about how I was going to watch For the Dark World, and on the trailers, I thought it was Pacific Rim 2. I got really excited. Then I heard his scream. Then I was like, oh, Godzilla! Oh, Godzilla! In the middle of the theater. And everyone stared at me. And everyone thought, oh my God.
It's him.
People really do that.
No. People are far more racist than that. They looked at you and went, "Oh my God, it's him!"
Yeah, pretty much right.
It's
Godzilla.
Oh man.
It's Godzilla.
But yeah, it's because I was really pissed off because they were making a Godzilla even after the shitty one in, was it New York, right? The 2000-ish one, right?
Oh, the one with Ferris
Oh,
Bueller.
the Roland Emmerich
Yeah.
96.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck me, that one.
I enjoyed that better than this one.
96.
And so, Emmanuel,
Yes,
I will have to say, for your comment about the radioactive waste, I'm sad that you can't stay because you and I would have a very long conversation about it. You know,
Thank God.
It's not about just the waste, right? It's about the atomic bomb, right? Not about the radioactive waste. That's kind of like what they're trying to play it off, right? But that's based. But again, this is like a much longer conversation. But if you have to go, you have to go.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, sorry, I would fall asleep. But yeah, another time hopefully. But I was just thinking, did you reference that part in Austin Powers in Japan?
Yes and no, because me and Emmanuel went to Japan. We saw the big Godzilla statue in Japan, and I purposely went, and then afterwards they did it. We probably could find that video on my Facebook or something like that. But it's very stereotypical Asian.
Yeah, I think it's on my Facebook somewhere. But anyway,
all right.
Cool. And yeah, definitely talk at some point. That's what things like that actually happened as well. That's the thing.
Godzilla
Like,
actually happened. What?
No,
What?
oh sorry, dumping stuff into like water and killing lots of people, but the company not being held accountable for it. In Japan, it's just anyway. Yeah, another time.
Emmanuel, before you go, are we seeing you tomorrow?
Yeah, actually, that'd be great. Are you there, Simon, tomorrow?
No, I've got work, and I just stole a pizza from Rob, so it's okay.
Right, Simon, here you go.
What kind of work? Fucking kind of work does on my screen.
All right, cool. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And, tell me when you're free to talk, Simon. I'll call you. All right.
We'll do.
Bye.
We'll do.
Bye.
See you later.
See you later, man.
Have a great night.
Nice.
Godzilla.
Yeah, Godzilla indeed.
Right,
Oh,
Humphrey,
right.
Humphrey,
So,
what are you
Alex-
nominating?
Emmanuel's film.
Wow, really?
Really?
Panem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Apparently, Humphrey's just fixated on shit, man.
I feel like that's a bit unfair for the film. I feel like we none of us really enjoyed the film, right? But it was a good story, right? And it was quite well made. So I feel like because our enjoyment score is lower, I feel like we should give it like the bonus points for the sake of it, I guess.
Nah.
All right, fine. All right. Today's sponsor is
But yeah,
Panasonic and opening a cold one with the boys.
Sorry, from Japan.
Nice. All right.
Another one.
I have to
have-
go get the whiskey.
I have so many points I need to talk to you about this film. It's like it annoys me to a point where I like this film, but I didn't like this film at a certain point. It really, I have very parallel thoughts of this film. But John, why did you pick Shin Godzilla?
I picked it because
Think of them.
I picked it because I've always really loved Godzilla. I know very little about it. Like most things I know very little about it because it's something that I was exposed to as a kid, and the only exposure was a Godzilla cartoon. So that's all I know about it. I know bits and pieces of other stuff just from other material here and there, but I don't actually know as much as I would like to about Godzilla. I've just always really liked it. And I was like, well, it's foreign film round, and I had several things I could have picked, but I was like, I've always wanted to watch this. Why not just pick it? I've never seen it before. I've heard it's pretty decent. Interesting factoid for you guys is this was basically the response to the American one, because even though I enjoyed the
That makes
American one,
sense.
it was dog shit. Like as a Godzilla movie. This was supposed to be the response to that. And like I'll go into my specific thoughts and the pros and cons later, obviously. But yeah, I enjoy Godzilla, which is why I picked it.
But admittedly, I know one extra fact on that is the next Godzilla movie that they made, they purposely had the American one come back, and they had the Japanese Godzilla kill the American one on TV to make sure that he's dead.
Wait, really?
That's interesting.
I heard that, but it was the Roland Emmerich one, of course,
Of
as
course.
far as I remember. And they didn't
What
call
the
it
fuck
Godzilla,
does
they
that
called
mean?
it Zilla because they called it Zilla because they didn't think it was deemed worthy of the name Godzilla.
Right, no, but you mentioned a name that means nothing to me, so
Oh, the Roland
Roland
Emmerich,
Emmerich.
1997.
He
The first
basically
American
has
version.
like
Jesus Christ.
basic-
One of you pick to talk because I can't hear over you.
go on, Ben.
Yeah, it's the first American version of Godzilla, the one that most of us saw in the cinemas before we even heard of the Japanese one.
Do you mean like years and years and years ago?
Yes, the one with
The one with who was in it? Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, okay. Right, fair enough.
What?
Just making sure you're not talking about the Bryan Cranston one.
no, that
No,
one
the
was
Bryan Cranston. I think
surprisingly okay.
No, it wasn't.
You mean the one that's like a T-Rex and it has egg babies and shit?
Yes,
Like velociraptors.
Yeah,
no,
that one.
you're thinking of
yeah,
Cloverfield.
the one that looked more.
The Roland Emmerich one, Dan, is the one that steals like 5 shots exactly from Jurassic Park.
Yes, exactly. It fucking annoys me so much.
Basically,
Yeah, it's just
it's
Jurassic
basically
Park.
Independence Day with Godzilla. Basically.
Fair enough.
What's his name? It's got what's his name? The French
Jeff
guy.
Goldblum, he already said it. God damn, bloody hell.
Not Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
He was in Leon.
John Renault.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what's his
Bless you.
He's in-
I thought you said John won't know.
He won't.
Right.
John won't know. Abandon this one.
There's a lot of things I don't know, funnily enough.
If everyone is going to be quiet, I'll just do my quick intro. This
Yes.
Godzilla film.
Why did you pick this film, Simon?
Oh, you picked this film, right? I would have picked the old cartoony, childish Godzilla versus Megalodon film if I really wanted to do a Godzilla film.
That is a classic.
It's great. But in any case, this film is supposed to be a love letter to the original Godzilla, but it comes off more like a pervy text message.
Oh, that wasn't
And,
that
like,
actually.
and
What a line.
that's and it's like it's supposed to take scenes, and this is actually one of the things I wanted to message you about that Ben mentioned when he has like all the like titles and like names that flash up onto the screen. That's actually based off the original Godzilla, like the oldish Godzilla. And that's like, because this is essentially a remake of that film, and it has like same scenes, same shots, same buildings that get destroyed, but it really falls flat on those parts. When it tried to do original stuff, fucking excellent. When it tried to like be an homage to the old stuff, no, it's really gross.
That was a brilliant line, Simon.
Fucking analogy.
Thanks.
I don't overly agree with what you said, but I love the way you worded it.
Okay, cool. we'll discuss this in a second. So, Rob, what was your like initial like quick like introduction to the film?
Did it fall between pervy text message or Scooby Doo episode?
No, I struggled for the first hour, to be honest, because I think there was I mean, obviously it leans a lot into kind of like the political response to it all, and I was kind of going like, I don't know, it's an interesting take on it, but I feel like everything's a bit too linear. Because if this happened in real life, and maybe this is like the consequence of watching it in like a post-pandemic world, because I was thinking in real life you'd have like Godzilla deniers and you'd have like pseudoscience groups and you'd have all these things to compete with that they didn't go into. And then I don't know, in the second half it was all clicking a little bit more. And I don't know if that was like, I don't know if it's a coincidence that it clicked more when Godzilla looked a bit more serious. but no, it was a film of two halves for me. The first half I wasn't getting along with, but the second half I thought was really cool. And if you kind of like siphoned them off and like had a whole film of what was going on in the second, I think it would have been brilliant. And similarly, if you had a whole film of what was going on in the first, I think I would have struggled to finish it. Do you know what the turning point was? The purple laser. As soon as that happened, I was like, I'm in.
Yeah, when he did the atomic breath.
Oh yeah, I
always
was
is the clincher.
atomic breath. Yeah, that was purple laser. Atomic breath, man. Give it its proper name.
Show respect to Godzilla.
Godzilla is older than like the original writer for Godzilla is like 1960 something, right? It's like it's so goddamn old.
Also,
it
might look like a laser, but it clearly isn't because it starts off as fire. So get it right, Rob.
Oh,
Oh, you never. It's like you never
it was
encountered
50.
atomic breath before, you twat.
I was more going for that. He's never encountered a laser, but okay.
Laser, fucking idiot.
Atomic bad breath. Like,
but in any case, that scene is definitely my favorite. But we'll get into that afterwards. Next,
Simon, can we have a bit of structure here? For fuck's sake, I'm kidding.
How about you, Ben? I feel like you're like one of the other bigger Godzilla fans, maybe.
yeah, well, I can't say
You
like,
went in
I've
so
seen
confident, and then maybe.
I haven't seen like every single Japanese version that's been, but like I do have vague memories of the first one, and all the recent ones I've really enjoyed in different ways. And I think this one is a good what's the word? It's kind of like a good compromise between some of the American ones and some of the original Japanese ones as well. And I always found that every Godzilla film has had bits I really enjoyed and really appreciate, and others, and at the same time had bits that I think it's a bit weak. Like most of the American ones, we can all say like the American characters are the most annoying and most obnoxious. And it's like you want to focus on the monster, and that's like the main draw of the film, to be honest, isn't it? And there's going to be like this Dwayne Johnson hero that's coming in to save the day kind of thing. And this film had none of that. So I felt that was quite refreshing, that it was just like, let's just focus on how the government and the politics of all would react to this creature if it did exist. And so I did love that the angle of this movie more than anything else was that it was just basically the Chernobyl take. Like, how would you confront this monstrosity in real life? And how would the world leaders all come together to try and defeat it, and the choices they make and the sequence of events that lead up to getting rid of him or defeating him in some way. And I do have a good appreciation for that alone, and I thought this version of Godzilla was quite interesting for that aspect of it, and the poetic kind of like yin and yang side of things, where they have to come to the conclusion that the only way to destroy this monster is to practically send another atomic bomb to Japan. and that is like, oh, that brings it home in a way. I felt that they felt that they had to kind of like what destroyed Japan in the Second World War. They'd have to make this horrible decision to do that again. But their ingenuity and their like tenacity they made the people found a way to overcome that by using a different method which I felt was quite a really interesting ending to the film. So I felt that part, like Rob says, the second half really comes to its own for how like the people come to defeat the creature. And Godzilla, he's just like a beast he's not evil, he's just awakened and he's in a bad mood, basically. And it's like, he's going to like vaporize the city if everyone's kind of trying to piss him off. Because it's like, it's just one of those things. It's just like how it would go, I think. And I think that's very credible and like, executed well in that regard. And I think the only weakness about it is like, I think some of the scenes and how they execute Godzilla was like obviously a good homage to the original 1950s, 60s movies, but maybe some of it doesn't kind of like work in modern day context. In some degrees, how he moves is a bit like jaunted and a bit like it's basically just like.
Well, I mean, have you seen the original, right? Where the guy,
exactly,
in a suit, and he's like this of the building.
Yeah, he's a man in a suit trying to do his best, but at the same time, I feel like when he's actually fighting back, when his atomic breath starts to fire and his fins start going off and all that, that's when he comes to his own degree. And I think the design really finally gets to the point. It's like, yeah, this is brilliantly done.
Wait, did you say
that,
like
you can
the
see
design?
The design it's weird, but it's kind of like deliberately so, because he's kind of like this strange, like Rob says, like,
what did none of you guys like Tadpole Godzilla,
No.
the Babyzilla?
I liked him.
Yeah, but that was so weird. But it was good to
it.
see how he kind of got to the point
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's
of him looking like traditional.
Love Baby Godzilla. It's the second time in 24 hours that a reveal has happened and I've burst out laughing, and that doesn't happen very often.
I will say though, he is actually very well loved in Japan. Like he's like a meme and like
Of course he
cuddly
is.
toy, because
He should be.
that's
a meme.
he's got those big fucking like beanie baby eyes.
That's
and
exactly how I feel about him. Like I feel like he should be. I should have a little plush toy of him, and like you squeeze him, and his eyes go. Bleh.
It's just a shot where it's like him head on and he's causing havoc, and it's just like I found it so funny.
that was funny.
I loved it.
Yeah, I was a fan. I like that.
Yeah, I can see the point of making him like that. I think as weird as he is at first, you can see like it's really clever how he evolves. It's like, oh, okay, he's getting upright, he's walking, and it's like every stage of his evolution makes sense. And
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like,
done.
if he'd stayed in that doofy phase, then it wouldn't have been endearing. But
No.
because it is a temporary thing, that's what makes it endearing.
But that's actually one of the things I really liked about it, because later on, when he's like looking badass, I was sat there like, how has this come from a fucking Magikarp? And then they kind of like they do a closer shot on his face, and I was like, oh my god, he's got the same eyes. I thought that was really cool.
Can I just ask, Rob, was that an intentional pull there?
An intentional pull?
Yeah. Well, so like, how has this come from a Magikarp when Magikarp literally like evolves into a dragon?
All right.
Yeah, I didn't think.
Yeah, he does.
Fucking
it's the same
amateur,
thing.
mate. What
Jesus
you
Christ,
do?
Rob. I was like, oh, that's a really good analogy because it works in both ways. No, he was just thinking of something doofy. All
How
right.
did something badass come out of Magikarp? You're a fucking
We'll
idiot.
edit this out and make Rob look smarter.
I think we just have to delete the whole episode.
On the edit, it'll just be me going, yes.
But yeah, anything else, Ben?
Yeah. No, I think I've covered most of my points, because I feel like the film overall works in a way that like it has so much strength in how modern day sensibilities would work with the Godzilla story. and what Japan has like adapted
Japan?
since then, and what Japan, what they've done since then is they've kind of like put all their influences into this film and kind of like made the homage to the original, as well as kind of like being very faithful, which is quite good. And yeah, there's a lot to like.
Oh, I can't agree with being faithful there, because they did fuck up quite a bit for trying to be an homage to the original film. But we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, it really pissed me off for what they did.
But this is already shaping up to be a great call because nobody agrees with anyone so far.
No, I'm specifically trying not to respond to anything yet because I want to get through all the statements.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, let's go. Go on.
Alec.
Yeah, go on, Alec.
This was actually my first Godzilla. I've kind of grown up with my dad saying that Godzilla's like lame and gay and crap.
I mean,
So-
yeah.
No.
Well, no, like the shitty like animatronics and shit about it, and I can understand
No.
if it's no. Okay.
So yeah, I
Objection.
coming into this, I was not expecting an awful lot, and I was pleasantly surprised. Not by how cursed this fucking film is. I don't think we've ever had a film so cursed as this, where like we couldn't find a decent sub of it without actually just buying it like outright as a DVD.
Yeah, I'm pretty bummed out about that, to be honest.
But like the dub is fucking atrocious. It sounds like an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, oh
Oh,
my
if you
God.
described it as that, I would have watched it.
Fuck. So I watched the one.
This
on
is my
Amazon.
personal statement, you fuck.
Sorry, can I interject?
No,
Right, okay, when you right, go on and carry on.
no, go on then. Let's go.
No, it's the bit when
Gotcha.
it's all the
Hijack
people
my
talking in the
fucking shit.
boardroom, and all their voices are so fucking strange for the people. It's just oh fuck
Because they were running low on life points.
yeah. It's like the old people like.
No, this is where we find out Dan's just a racist and he watched the subversion. It's like, oh, all these voices, they're fucking weird, aren't they?
I loved the. Anyway,
No.
yeah. So I was apart from like the dubbing issue, because like it hit a point where I was trying to like I was using like the version John found where like the translation was really fucking bad for the sub. So I was trying to I had the Japanese version and the English version next to each other, and I was trying to mix the sound up so I could hear the acting from the Japanese version, but I could understand what was going on because there weren't actually any subtitles on the dub. So I had to have both going on at the same time. It was a fucking nightmare. I only made it like half an hour in. But bless you, Jen.
That wasn't mine. That wasn't.
Yeah, I was
me.
gonna.
Oh fuck.
gonna
Bless
say.
you, Simon's nephew.
That was me.
That was you. Oh,
That was not you. Fuck off.
No, it wasn't. I just wanted to see his face.
Of course, it wasn't you.
but yeah,
If you
I
could
was.
throw your voice that well, I'd be so. Anyway, carry on.
Also, that
I was
was a woman.
convinced.
But yeah, we had such choice translations as body bent with multiple parts. Mangoes make it look like an ocean fish, but is like a lungfish. I think mangoes is meant to be gills, but like we're not dealing with
No. It wasn't. They didn't mean the fruit. They meant like the action. It's like, oh, man goes, and then like, they're like yeah, this is
Man goes far.
man goes make it look like ocean fish.
It sounds like
they're all
Native
Tarzan.
American saying.
But yeah, so I was quite impressed. I've heard a bunch of things like secondhand from Godzilla. That's not my main exposure. Where like, fucking shut up, Jen.
Oh,
No, it's gone now. Yeah, I've heard kind of like stuff about the American ones where they focus on like love plot between two useless humans, and no one enjoys it, and Godzilla takes up like 5% of the film. So I was like, I think I was expecting more Godzilla stuff, but I really appreciate that this like the conflict came from. This is like the war room. This is how we deal with Godzilla, and that's that's kind of the plot. And I was like, this is really, really nice. I like that we're doing this like this way, and we're not focusing on the stupid human characters. We're
Yeah,
But you don't like the acting of Millie Bobby Brown.
no, I don't.
Well, I will have to say though, this took for the first sighting of like Godzilla, his tail, right? It actually took the movie 8 minutes. I purposely tried to time it. It took about 8 minutes to go, oh look, we can actually see physical evidence of Godzilla and not this maybe it's Godzilla, maybe it's another monster bullshit. Fucking a point to the movie for that. In 8 minutes, we can finally see a little bit of Godzilla.
Were you watching the start of this movie going, oh, what if it isn't Godzilla though?
Oh no, I was worried that you know how certain the old it's more it was Tadpolezilla to be honest, right? But it's like sometimes with Godzilla movies, because I have not seen this, right? Because
you sitting there going like, if this is a giant minion, I'm gonna be just pissed right off.
I swear to God, if a giant mech just comes out of there.
Well, it's like, you know, sometimes they just pull other kaiju monsters from the Godzilla universe and they pull them out sometimes. It's like, well, what the fuck are you? We didn't get mentioned in the title. Why are you here?
I mean, yeah, but this, like, to me, this was clear from the start that this was like an origin point. Like,
I mean, yeah, I guess, but it's like it's called the new Godzilla, right? Well, we'll discuss that. It's the new true Godzilla.
I mean, that's irrelevant. Like, just the way the movie starts and how it's set out is like, okay, they don't know anything about kaiju. This is a first. Like, oh bloody hell, Rob, that was scary. Fucking hell.
Honestly, your screen has been a fucking nightmare all night.
It was so funny, Rob. It was just complete. It was like the poster for Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, you just came in like, whoa.
Glasses make you look like the Riddler.
Oh god. But yeah, it's and no, sorry, I'll wait until my turn. Carry on, Alec, if you have more.
Yeah, this was a nice first outing for Godzilla. I was impressed. I don't think it's like brilliant, but I do think it was quite good.
And it was his first outing as well.
Yeah.
Literally, he was a slug.
No. Figuratively, he was a slug.
Yeah, literally, he was a tadpole.
Yes.
A Tadzilla.
So
also, just to check quickly, is Ben lagging for anyone other than me?
Yeah, Ben's quite slow.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just me.
He's chopping.
Because otherwise, only I would be talking at the same time as him by mistake, and then I'd like a knob.
We're hearing everything he's saying. It's just you're just a little bit on delay.
It's a bit.
I'll say it's a bit robotic for me as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I'm Mecha Godzilla then.
Oh, I hope not.
Also known as Barbara Streisand.
Oh yes.
Barbara Streisand.
So Dan, since you seem to have like the most disdain for this particular Godzilla,
no, that's not true.
Pat is the one.
Oh, right, okay.
That honor lies firmly with Pat.
No, we're saving that for Pat, but Dan should go next.
Yeah.
Well, you got to leave the spicy stuff for last, right?
Oh, I had a poo before we came on.
Like,
Wait, what?
I did as well.
No.
Right. So my main gripe with this was the actual CGI.
Can I interject?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
Well, I don't fucking want to.
Oh, okay.
Well, shut up then.
No.
Right, this is my film. I don't want.
They have to ruin everything.
Go on, Dan.
Yeah, it was mainly the CGI. It was just really off-putting when it was going from one. Like, you'd see the action scene and you could clearly see the helicopters, or the certain bits of it were just really just plain CGI. It wasn't like it was blended in. It was just a computer graphic on the screen. And it kind of, that's
what CGI is.
No, but it was too clean.
Some bits were more jarring, I remember that.
Oh yeah, it's like the cranes. The fucking cranes that feed in the liquid. And they were like, woo! They move way too fast, and it's just like, what the fuck. But yeah, and also the Tadzilla. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then it was like, okay, understand. It evolves, and then it got to the final form. Like, okay, this looks much better, but it's still a little bit like the little arms that don't move.
I mean, yeah, he hasn't finished evolving.
Oh,
His arms
also
don't-
because they ran out of budget. That's the reason why.
his arms don't move,
Ah.
and like literally every scene you see him, and he's just like.
Would he have looked better if he was someone's bum? You know, like in your film where someone had a crocodile for a butt.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I had to reiterate it because no one was going to fucking
no,
remember anything
you
about it.
missed-
Imagine
Or-
like, the fire
if he's-
coming out of a
Or if his tail was actually a penis, and his penis turned
Yeah.
into a gun.
that would actually be what
Wait a minute.
interesting to watch. for
No,
some reason.
no, it wouldn't. Shut up. Carry on.
Isn't his tail much like a penis? It's the same kind of shape.
Well, little people are coming from it, so
Dan,
you know.
I'm worried about your penis, but we'll go into that at another
Wait a
time.
minute.
You carry on
You
talking
did
about this
make a
movie.
good point there, Simon. That he had people coming from his tail.
That was an excellent point. There were people coming out of his tail.
Tail.
What Dan is trying to say is his penis has got Down syndrome.
I'm reasonably sure he wasn't saying that at all.
Yeah, I'm
but-
pretty sure that you're the only one who has that opinion, Pat.
I'm just trying to say negative things. Don't worry.
Hey,
I try not to be, certain of these things, but I'm
Godzilla.
pretty sure.
Yeah. Also, maybe let's not talk about Down syndrome like it's a
a joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dan syndrome affects many Dans
Did you
every
just?
day.
I was going to say, did you just say Down syndrome?
Look at what it's done to this poor man.
Oh, yeah, the hair just never stops growing. It's everywhere.
No, the nose never stops going.
Well, no, it's both. So he constantly looks in proportion, but he's really not.
But yeah, the main reason why you saw his bad CG with the trucks.
Hang on, Simon.
Hmm.
We'll get into that.
Oh, I thought Pat was finished. All right, go on.
What?
Pat.
No,
What?
hang on.
We
It's
were
Dan
there.
talking, for fuck's sake.
Right, finish up there.
But yes, like the political stuff and like the history of like the nuclear weapons, and that was quite interesting. Like the interjection from the US was quite it's quite satirical in the fact of like, oh yeah, we're going to come and nuke your city because we don't want it near ours, and it's like, but
You
what?
say satirical.
No, but
I
it's
think
like,
accurate is probably the better
Well,
word.
well, yeah.
Because let's be honest, if something like this actually happened, straight away, Russia, America, everyone would be like, well, it can move through the water. So if you don't sort it out in, 5 minutes, we're going to nuke you.
Yeah, it's there. So it's got, as someone else said, it's got some good points and other some bad points. But yeah,
We'll get into those.
the CGI just kind of got me a bit. I was just like, oh, and the problem is once I start noticing things like that, it kind of, it bugs me a little bit. But
Yeah, I get that.
That's fair.
But yeah, so we'll go, Rob.
CGI.
Oh, hang on, sorry. What was that, Ben?
Oh, sorry, my leg must be messing things up. I was just going to say, like, the bit that jarred me with the CGI is, like, for example, when they send the bullet trains to nuke Zilla from his, and they just sort of like crumble about him and just like flop around a bit. It was
That's
just
actually
quite
one of
obvious.
the original scenes from the original Godzilla. I actually like that because it's a decent.
Oh, right, because it's just like it.
Yeah, that's surprisingly it's okay scene.
I like that because Japan's pretty much the only country where you could actually viably do that.
Yeah.
No, I think the execution of it was the problem. I think the idea of it's great. I think I
It
like
looked
the
like a
idea
computer
of like
game.
a bullet train.
it really
storing
did look like
Zilla.
a computer game.
But it just
yeah,
the graphics didn't hold up.
I was just picturing doing that here, and it's just like, oh, it's raining a bit.
There's a leaf on the track.
Someone else killed themselves. Fuck it.
Oh, no, hang on. We've had to shut that train down because there's a Godzilla on the track. Oh, right, hang on. No, that's not a problem, isn't it?
Here comes Extinction Rebellion.
They super glued themselves to the track.
But yeah, we'll go Rob, then Pat, and then me. Because obviously I did my introduction, but I didn't give my thoughts on the movie.
I've already done my bit.
Did you?
Yeah, I did mine first. I think.
Yeah,
Was it?
I did it.
Oh, it must have been really uninteresting. Then go on,
Oh,
Pat.
could you look more
Sorry,
fucking
Rob.
creepy? You look like Dr. Robotnik.
What, me?
Well,
Yeah, you.
Pat, it's just a fucking introduction. You don't need to like strap on the wrist tape and get ready.
Brace yourselves. I gotta give some thoughts.
right. So I was
It's
never really a massive Godzilla fan, surprisingly.
Okay.
I can tell.
My first experience of it was the 1998 American one, which
That'll be why.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, the worst.
Yeah,
And
of course
then I
you
got
did.
told about the 1931.
1930.
Oh, 50,
Yeah, it was the first one, wasn't it?
1950s.
I thought it was
50s.
I think the first
1930.
one was 1954.
All the
Yeah.
fucking dates
Whenever-
are changing.
Whenever it was.
Somewhat.
I wasn't.
No, that was
too
the
big
real
on it.
Godzilla.
I
I
loved the recent reboot ones.
Reboot. You need to reboot.
Guys, guys, can we let Pat talk and just stop dissecting every single fucking word he says, please? Jesus.
Yeah, I loved the reboot ones. But I did not like this one at all. I mean, what's going on with the beginning bit? I know it's an evolution bit, but I mean, fuck me.
No.
That
Pat,
was.
You should see what you look like at that age.
I don't want to see what I look like at that age.
Fair.
And-
That's fair enough.
And if that was made in a film and it got criticised, I'd be like, fair point.
I do have googly eyes.
When it got to its
A Google
ultimate form,
Google.
it looked better, but I'd already had that image in my head. One of the other big problems I had, which is probably, I don't know if it's the film's fault in the production itself, is the subtitles and native language to it. Don't know if the original version of it should have had hard coded subtitles in. I don't know what was going on with it, but like the first version I watched, it was near on impossible for me to watch. And then the dubbed one, less said about the voice acting, the better. Alex says Yu-Gi-Oh! I think something like bloody Sharknado.
Fucking hell.
Oh, that was a lovely rhyme.
Alex
Says
says
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Well, I say Sharknado.
I didn't care for any of the political stuff in it.
Second in there.
I thought the political stuff was pretty boring.
Oh yeah, you're definitely
You
not a
fucking
Godzilla
would.
fan if you think the political stuff's boring.
I just thought, what am I watching here?
Godzilla.
The last sort of half an hour with sort of Godzilla running rampant, and then the puny humans trying to defeat him.
Succeeding, not trying.
Well, okay, succeeding. It's been a long week. I attempted to watch this
Sorry,
film
Pat,
3
sorry.
times. 3
Shut up.
Yeah,
times.
me too.
I attempted to watch it 3 times, and then I've worked 27 hours in 3 days.
Oh man, I watched it once and I
Oh.
took a break in the middle of it and I haven't worked at all. So like, fuck me, I'm tired.
I did enjoy Rob's little saga. Oh, sorry, Pat.
So for me, like story wise, is the last half an hour entertained me a little bit, but I mean, after this call, I'll never remember this film again.
Yeah, you will. You'll constantly think about those Google eyes. You'll see them in your nightmares.
I'm going to send you the gift.
Yeah, we'll send you.
No, you won't, Dan. You're very rarely online.
Yeah, we'll do it.
See?
Good. Did you hear the heightening of the pitch in Pat's voice there?
Say what?
That's very unlikely, Dan, because he don't have a phone. What?
Dan,
It's in a
well,
safe buried somewhere in the Atlantic.
Dan after the call.
But yeah, anything else, Pat?
Just puts it in a sock and
No. Honestly, no.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, like I was saying before, like this is kind of like what Simon said, it's supposed to be a love letter to like classic Godzilla fans. I was like, I very much enjoy the movie in general, but there's a lot that I'm disappointed about. Like they didn't fully commit to making it a love letter. Like obviously by the fact of like what Dan said, they used a guy in a suit that they put CG over, but then they also had full CG scenes, and like they really should have picked one or the other, or made sure they had a better budget for the CG stuff.
No, because they wasted it on the animatronic Godzilla. They didn't want to use CG, then they made the animatronic. Then afterwards they realized, holy shit, this animatronic looks shit on camera. We have to do a CG, but we don't have the budget anymore. Just do the advert for SoftBank. Okay, sure, I guess that's the reason why it looks bad. They run out of budget.
I didn't know they used an animatronic as well, because there is definitely a guy in a suit for a lot of it.
Yeah, but like animatronic is what they wasted all that budget on. You got because like I did a bit of a I would say a deep dive, but I
was expecting you to say deep dive.
But I did have a look of like because I remember watching the original Godzilla, right? And I remember like certain scenes, and I was just doing a comparison shot between them. I was like, yeah, they fucked up quite a bit on certain parts. So
I'm not even sure I've seen that movie, to be honest. Like I said, even though I absolutely adore Godzilla, I have very limited exposure to it. So like all that kind of stuff doesn't bother me because it's not in my memory bank. But like I can see the parts where they've tried to like make it, because obviously the problems with I hate calling it the Bryan Cranston one, because even though he was in all the adverts, he's in it for like 5 minutes, but I can't remember any other people's names.
Don't fucking go there.
Isn't
film?
Isn't it
Taylor Johnson is
Elizabeth Olsen and
Elizabeth Olsen's in there.
Oh, I just called him Anya Taylor Johnson. That's a different person.
But yeah, like the problems with that film is, well, the same as a lot of American versions of things, is that they missed the point, which like the point of it has always been the politics behind everything, and Godzilla himself, not just like the story of the humans. Like, yes, there should be a story there, but there shouldn't be a fucking love story in Godzilla. But yeah, so like we were saying, this was supposed to be like a response to that, which it is, but unfortunately, like not in the same way as Rob. But this is a film of two halves for me, but not in the sense of like the first part of the film and the second part of the film. It's more like I can see two different ideas that people came in with. One of them being like, I want the old Godzilla back, and the other being like, but we could do cool shit. And yeah, like it suffers for a lot of reasons. But having said that, I still really enjoyed it in general. And because they make you wait for it, when he first unleashes the classic scream, and then you can like, you obviously know what's going to happen, because even in the American one, when he started lighting up, I was like, oh fuck, atomic breath. Like when he does it in this, I was like, oh shit. And then don't roll your eyes at me, Alec. I really like Godzilla.
I know, John.
But yeah, it obviously started lighting up, and then he started letting fire out, and I was like, wait, please don't tell me they changed this. And then the way they actually made it progress, like for him condensing the energy, I thought was so fucking cool. They made it a bit weird when he started shooting out all over his body, but that's fine.
Now that's peak Godzilla, well, especially with the music and all that like heavy opera singing. That was peak Godzilla. That is actually an homage to the original Godzillas, because that's their atomic breath is just like a dude with like some lighter fluid and a match going. Pretty much, right? But then afterwards it turns into the big blue purpley laser atomic breath that we all kind of like know in the more modern Godzillas. I was like, yeah, that's peak.
I was really, really impressed with like how they made the disaster stuff like look like I don't want to just say effective, but like I actually, when I saw all the buildings go up and like he's just let loose this like atomic breath stuff, and like most of like just Tokyo is just like up in like this giant like
you feel
fireball.
it.
Oh, right,
Yeah, I was just like, fuck me. I was like, that's incredible. And like, I don't know. I feel like we're kind of in this age where it's just destruction, and you're just kind of numb to it.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
felt like really, really impactful. And I was like, fuck yeah, that. Oh my god, like that's
Yeah.
enormous.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Like-
I agree. You feel the impact there, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the
Compared to,
reason I
like,
gave.
the most recent one.
Sorry, Ben, carry on.
Sorry.
I keep talking over you because of the lag.
And that's the bloody lag. It's hard to know, but I was going to say that this one I think was the destruction I felt was earned, warranted, and compared to some of the other American remakes and other monster movies where everything seems to have that cost. Like the lives are like they all tally up, and there's so much like consequence to everything Godzilla does compared to some others, and it's like, oh shit, we need to act now. And it's like, it's not just like brushed aside, and it's not like, well, let's just going to cut to this stupid joke and let's have this hero do a mean quip here and there. There's none of that. It's just like, we need to figure out a solution, and that's what I did appreciate.
Well, that's the thing. Like in an American version of stuff like this, the explosions are, you know, because they want to make something big and colorful and they want to spend money on shit and boom. But like Alex said, like these are all purposeful, and like you feel each thing. Like for example, that family where the guy's like, "Hurry up, honey, we need to leave," and then literally Godzilla collapses into that building and like goes across. Like, what?
No, it's not you. I hated that scene.
Why?
Because
is it because it's another homage they fucked up?
Absolutely. No, seriously, because that scene is they did that really early in the movie, right? And like, I don't know why, because the original scene was actually sad. It's literally a mother holding her two kids while they're being collapsed by Godzilla, and they're dying underneath the rubble, and they're like, "Don't worry, your dad's gonna come home soon. It's all right. It's supposed to be fucking sad, the scene, but they kind of pulled that scene and made it into a joke, and that kind of annoyed me to a certain point, because it was not supposed to be emotional and sad. It didn't look emotional and sad. It just looked rushed, and it kind of annoyed me to it.
I'll agree with you that it was rushed and they could have spent a bit more time on it, but at no point did I feel like it was a joke or not supposed to be sad. Like they made a clear point. Yeah. They made a clear point of it being like this. They're in the process of evacuating. They're trying to rush, but it's a typical thing with things don't necessarily feel real. Blah 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 blah. And then literally you see the outside. You see Godzilla hit the building, and then when it starts collapsing, you see them sliding and shit. And like I don't know how you could think of that as a joke.
Okay. Yeah. I'll say it like this then. It looked off-putting. It didn't look quite right. For me, because I've seen the original, right? The original scene was supposed to be very sad, very emotional, and I would say funny looking, but no, you're correct in that it was actually made correctly because it was crashing and it's sliding, right? But it seemed like they tried to go for like the emotional heartstring pull, but they did it poorly. They executed it poorly.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it was necessarily like a heartstring pull. I think it is like trying to establish there's like there are civilians who have been slow to evacuate, and they're still in this building.
Yeah,
and
there was a very specific purpose to that compared to the original.
And like Godzilla's still like quite young, and it's like still kind of working out its body, and like it's just kind of bumping into shit at this point, and it's like, like these people are getting caught in it. I wouldn't have said it was like meant to be this big emotional thing.
Okay.
Simon, before you respond, just quickly. Obviously, I understand you've seen the original, and there's a lot of things that are supposed to be homages, and
you've seen the original?
Maybe necessarily didn't. Right. But they didn't necessarily do it the way that the original did it. But do try and compare it fairly in like, how do I put this?
Objective.
Not just like how not just how it compares to the original, like the scene itself, but how that scene is incorporated into the entire movie. Because this scene, you're saying, obviously, is at a different point in the movie in the original. And I think from what you've said, it serves a different purpose in this movie as well.
Also, it being in a different scene, like they evacuate the city like very early on, so you can't have it later because no one's in the city.
Well,
I mean, you could, because there could be reasons why people get stuck and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but you know, as Alec was saying, the purpose of this scene in this movie is to show you, like, you know, people are still trying to evacuate, and how just this simple random movement from this thing that can't even control its movement can cause such destruction. And like, just think this is one family we've seen. Think of how many other families are in that building, the other building, etc., etc.
Oh, okay. I feel like I understand what you both are trying to say now. I guess this version is about families trying to escape but couldn't escape. But I guess in the original, it's more like they couldn't even leave because like there was nowhere to even leave, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I guess it's different, but like
you can still dislike it. I'm not telling you have to like it. I just mean like purpose-wise.
I understand. No, I try to understand. I'm not trying to look at it like objectively, but like I still feel that the original scene was way like made way better because even though it's in like black and white, right, and you can still see like the actress for the mum and like holding the kids is really sad because like essentially again the building is literally collapsing around her and they're literally gonna suffocate and die in that building, which is like to explain the destruction of Godzilla. Duh. But like it's made differently. So and I guess it serves a different purpose, but I still think the original is probably better particular scene because they again that love scene in this movie are taken almost shot for shot from the original, and it like that scene is supposed to be based off that original scene, and it's like they could have done it better, I guess, but I guess it's not really what they were going for. But
that's my biggest problem with the movie, though. Like, is you can feel the two sides fighting each other in the movie. Like, it's trying to do two different things, and it does them very well at different points, but it makes it really hard to mesh together, which is like, even though I haven't seen the original, I can still feel like, obviously I know bits and pieces here and there, but you can just feel in certain moments it's like they just put this in here like clearly because it was a thing, but it doesn't necessarily work in this moment now. Whereas like that scene for me works perfectly fine because of where they put it and how they did it. Completely understand you thinking the other one's better just because of where it was and what he was doing in that movie. But one thing I wanted to make sure I said is that the reason I gave Impact a 10 is because literally that, did I say it already? I started saying, I don't know if I finished saying it, so you can tell me. But when it did the screech and the atomic breath, like I literally had goosebumps like all up my arm, just up there. And I was just like, fuck, because basically what Alec was saying, because it was the nostalgia here alongside the very purposeful destruction that you really just feel, and just like, oh, man. And like also because you know it's atomic breath and they've been talking about like radiation and stuff already, you're like, well, you might want to check that again.
Okay, I guess they did split the film up a bit. Well, you Rob and everyone else in there, a bit too much, but
it upsets me.
I think also as like sorry.
No, go on.
I think as a response to so I understand this is like a response to like the American Godzilla, and like for my understanding of like I haven't seen the American Godzilla, but it's a common criticism that it centers on inconsequential characters like kind of too much, and I think it's supposed to like I think that's there for like, you know, just common cinema goer to have like a kind of point of reference. and they go like, "Oh, this would be you in this situation," and you're meant to be able to relate to this person. It's like, this is like Godzilla, and like this is what happened in this one to you. You care about this, don't you? And I think they were trying to, like, I think if this is a response to that, they don't necessarily want to focus too much on the civilian stuff. I think there's like civilian stuff peppered in and that, but they don't have a lot of agency in the story. And I appreciate that in this they kind of trusted you to go, okay, this guy is in the government. He's like, you know, he's still quite young to the government, but like he's got a lot of sway. He's got like enough influence to actually like lead his own unit in against it and stuff. And it's like I really appreciate like just that trust in your audience that they can go like, this maybe isn't you, but you can understand what this guy's doing and his thought process, and it's like following like a line of logic and stuff. And I was like, that's really, really nice. But I guess that's why that civilian element isn't quite as prevalent.
Well, that's the thing. Like the whole you know, pair of trousers character thing. It's Alec. I've said this before. I don't know why you get confused every time I say it. It's a very well-known thing.
Pair of trousers.
Yeah, as in you put them on, so they're supposed to be someone you can relate to.
I feel like pair of shoes is the more common one.
No, but it's not. Trust me.
I feel like it is. But
It really isn't. When you're talking about person to person, putting yourself in someone else's shoes, yes. But when you're talking about stories and characters, it's a very common and well-known thing to talk about them being just a pair of trousers that you wear, like the character themselves. Anyway, moving on.
walk a mile in someone else's trousers.
What'd you say, Rob?
And see how you feel.
Rob?
Hmm?
What did you say?
Oh, I just said good night.
Oh, fuck's sake. Yeah, like it obviously that kind of character work is definitely more Western than it is Eastern anyway. And it just doesn't always work. I think far too many Western films try to incorporate that at least one or two characters in like every fucking movie they make, which because they want the general everyday cinema goer to be like, oh, that's me, which fucking like really hampers a lot of stories and character work. So I'm glad they didn't do that in this because it's not necessary. Like basically what you said, like I honestly, when I see it too often, I feel like the film is talking down to me, being like, "Oh, look, you could be this person." Like, I don't need that. I can figure out who this person is. Just give them a fucking character. Stop making them someone that I'm gonna go, "Oh yeah, that could be me," or it couldn't. Fucking like it's a giant lizard.
I mean, that is why they put all the like subtitles on the screen, right? Because it's like, oh look, it's the Minister of Defense. And his name and it's what it is, and it's kind of like.
But you don't even need that because you get the context of who they are, but by what they're talking about, what they ask for permission for, or what they say they're going to do. Like that's what when Ben was saying that there's there's text everywhere explaining everything. I'm just like, fuck off! You don't need that.
Yeah, that is also.
Yeah, you can follow the story. Yeah, you can follow the story fairly well without knowing. This is the Minister of Defense. This is like the Civil Secretary, or whatever. This is like the President. Blah blah. You can kind of like figure it out as they go on.
Sorry,
I do think
Sorry, go on, Rob.
I was just going to say, I do think the film's guilty of that in quite a few ways, though, because like there's literally a scene where there's a shot of a traffic jam. And then the camera goes inside the back of a cab, and the guy goes, "We're in a traffic jam." And it's just like there's so many examples where it's like you don't need to tell me this.
Yeah, I probably didn't notice most of them because I was too engrossed in the other stuff going on. Sorry, I was about to agree with Ben because I was about to be like, yeah, like most of these like political positions, you don't even necessarily need to know because it's more about what they're doing or what they're discussing. And then he went, oh, or he's the president. And I was like, okay, no, you kind of need to know that one. I just love the idea
He
that
kind of
you
says
didn't
it.
know.
They say it multiple times in the dialogue, so he kind of like he don't really need to see his name come up on the screen
I think
because
it-
everyone calls him the president. Oh, president!
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What can we ask your
Well,
permission?
yeah, because
It's
like
the
that's how
dialogue
their
explain,
that's how their politics work. Like they have to show like deference
address
to
them.
that person.
I think I think for me it's something like it's nice to have it there. I didn't really fucking read it when they were like, "This is here," and I'm like, "Cool, I don't know where that is." And it's like, "This is the minister for this guy," and I'm like, I don't care."
Well, that's what I was trying to say to Ben when he was saying about it. I was like, "Oh no, please! Like, I wish you'd said this when you started watching it. I would have said, just fucking ignore all that. Just read what the people are actually saying. Don't give a shit about who they are, other than like." Because it's the whole show don't tell thing, like basic story of any story. You don't go, this man is a fireman. You show someone in a uniform or performing the action that, shows you who they are.
What about if he's a fireman themed stripper?
Well,
then again, you just show him wearing the fireman gear, going to put out a fire, but instead he pulls out his penis.
Well, sorry. There's actually one scene where I think was actually where the title popping up was actually beneficial. It's when the president or is he prime minister? Either
If
way.
you're talking about Japan, it's prime minister.
Prime minister. When the prime minister got killed, and he had to, and the new prime minister got elected, and he just see the guy who was, he was fucking waiting to eat his fucking bowl of
they're
ramen
cold.
noodles. Like, they're cold now.
He so reminded me of Rob in that one. Just like they said it'd be tough, but they didn't tell me about soggy noodles.
Yeah, but it's like
Bloody hell, Rob, do not move. Stay completely still. That really doesn't look like Rob's hand. I know it is because I just saw his elbow, but from this specific position, it looks like someone's leaning over him like that.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
creepy as shit.
I thought you were gonna say his balls have knuckles.
But in any case, that particular scene actually benefited from that because like he was supposed to be like the minister of agriculture, right? But then suddenly he's prime minister, and he's like, "Oh, there's so much to do. I just wanted to eat lunch, man."
Yeah, because unfortunately it goes by like seniority and loyalty and stuff like that, and he's just.
I don't know if this is like a translation thing, but it really fucking wound me up like this line of dialogue, and it's like it's not a problem at all. But they were just sitting there, and it's like, he's now the prime minister because of seniority. No. Why did he get the job? And I'm like, you said why he got the fucking job. Because of seniority, you prick.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a translation thing.
Yeah, it's about right.
Because they basically what they do is they talk about the fact that he's got the job, and then they're not asking how he got the job. They're more being like they're kind of more talking about his suitability and ability to do the job after that.
Yeah.
So there's a few bits where the translation is a little bit off, and it's just. And the thing is, like, usually you can roll with it a bit, but I think because this is so expositional, it's like it really like shines a light on translation being a bit wonky. Like there's one scene where like one guy goes, "Am I crazy or is that bigger?" And then the other guy goes, "Yeah, it's much bigger than we thought it'd be at this point." And it's like, no, that's two different. That's not what he said.
Yes, you're crazy, and it is also bigger than you thought it was.
Yeah, that's
moving. No, what was that one you said about it's moving quite fast?
Oh yeah, there's one where a guy is like, "Oh, for something that size, it's moving quite slow," and it's like, no, that's what I'd expect.
No, that was just a translation problem. So,
for something the size of a skyscraper, it should be moving really fast.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's just like a basic thing of like I don't know, like human understanding is things that are smaller than you. They're not like they always look like they're moving faster, and then things that are bigger than you always look like they're moving slower. But if you was to literally like size up a human to that size, that is the speed you would move because it's all proportional. So like you don't even need that kind of conversation.
Yeah, there's so many bits where I was like, man, I can suspend my I don't know.
Disbelief?
Not disbelief, but like I can
Just-
suspend like a bit of my brain that's going like, that's weird dialogue.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
watching a
it's
film,
essentially it's just exposition. Oh no,
Yeah.
exposition is happening, and that's the,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
reason
but
why
it's not it's not necessary. Is the like that's the other problem with trying to make it too much like an old movie, is that there are outdated like methods in those kind of movies. Like, you don't need someone to go, oh my god, it's moving very slowly, it's quite large. You would just show it and then you'd be like, fuck, like that'd be it.
There was another bit where like an older guy's going to like they're talking about them getting in a helicopter and he'll have to drive through, and he's like, okay, and he goes, traffic's gonna be murder, and I'm like, there are worse things going on. You'll have to sit still for quite a while. Just like
sitting still for quite a while means you're at risk.
Yeah.
I must admit, though,
sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, like, there was one scene that I think because I work in local government, I really related to, and it's the bit where the two guys are complaining about having to write a law about Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I appreciated that.
I was sitting there, like, when they were going to, like, well, we're going to call it. And I was like, what are we going to call it? Fucking who gives a fuck? But like shit like that, it was like, what should we? Yeah, just like.
But that's how it would be.
I was like,
that's the problem.
We're in Japan. Yeah, that's the yeah. They got to be sure they're, being bureaucratic with it.
And it looks like he had like a fucking like royal seal, like from like the Japanese emperor as well. So it looks like a royal decree. Now that in law, we have the Godzilla clause. And it's
isn't that? I don't know if it's still a thing, but isn't that at least it used to be? Isn't that like what their signature is? Like you have a personal stamp.
Oh yes, yeah, but it's just hilarious. Imagine if like Godzilla was in England and you had Queen Elizabeth go signing off for the Godzilla law.
I mean, you wouldn't have that because she doesn't actually have power. So.
Oh my god! I wish you were Queen Elizabeth.
I don't. It'd be almost dead. That's a very rude thing to say to a friend.
Signing off on.
But yeah, no. There's a lot about this movie.
Sorry.
A lot about this movie really bums me out. Like, obviously, all the issues with actually getting to watch it as an English speaker was ridiculous. Because I've heard about this movie since before it came out, and I just kind of forgot about it for a while. And then, like a couple of the people I follow on YouTube, they watched it like years ago, but it got mentioned again a couple of months ago, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, oh no, the reason I remembered is because of Rob. But then a couple of weeks after that, they mentioned it again, and then they mentioned it again today, like I said, and I was just like, oh shit, yeah, I still need to watch that, because like one of these two is really into Godzilla and he enjoyed it, so I'll probably like it to a degree. It's just it bums me out how much of an issue it was to get a good copy, in that we couldn't. It bums me out that the translation was so bad, because I mean, like, I complain about certain video games for having bad translations, and they're not even like 10% as bad as this is, but it's still enough that it can completely change like meanings and like personalities of characters and motivations and stuff like that. And while I do think that this movie would probably suffers less than some other movies would for it, because like you're saying, a lot of it is exposition, so it's more just kind of understanding what's going on rather than understanding who someone is. Like, you get everything you kind of need to know from their actions, but I don't know, just like, and then like I said earlier, like the whole film of two halves things bums me out, because it's like, we wanted to make a Godzilla movie that was true to the original, but we tried a bit too hard to do that on certain parts, and then we didn't try enough on other parts, and we picked the wrong ones to do each of those things on. And also the fact that like this is obviously like a reboot, and this was supposed to be the start of like the Godzilla verse, which is something that I've wanted to be like a legitimate thing for a while. And there was a Shin Godzilla 2 planned, but it got cancelled in, I think, 2018. And it just makes me really sad, because they have the setup there, not because they obviously like they slow him down and basically freeze him, And this is the Godzilla I remember. Like, he isn't like an ally. He isn't on their side. He's someone that they like bring up to fight other creatures that come out, and he does it because they just will fight over territory, basically, not because he's trying to protect them. And it's like, that's literally what they could have done with this. Like, they could have unfrozen him, like pumped him back full of juice, and then he would have disappeared into the sea like he's supposed to. And then like it just makes me sad because we could have had like Ghidorah and like fucking
Rodan and Gigan. Yes, all those.
Maybe
cool
not
monsters.
Mothra, because they kind of did that in the American one, and it was terrible. No, I love Mothra in general, but the American one very much sullied Mothra for me.
Yeah, but I think if you did like a proper like version of Mothra, that could be fucking incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Just again, just this whole experience of this movie, from picking it to watching it to everything that was like wrong with it, just really bums me out, because it got me excited for a little bit, and then I burped, and then everyone was just sad.
I don't know, I kind of went into it sort of not expecting a great film, because I think the thing with Godzilla for me is I usually have fun with them, but I never come out of it thinking like, oh, that's a fantastic film. And I kind of expected like something along those lines, but then I don't know, it was a weird experience, because I spent the first half going like, ha, this is stupid, and then the second half going like, oh no, it's all right actually.
and they cut it short because they froze him and they couldn't mega evolve into Space Godzilla.
Well, but this is the other thing. Like
you've never heard of Space Godzilla? Yeah, there's a Godzilla in space.
Oh dear.
There's like 12,000
I cleared it right
Godzilla.
up.
It's a bit like Moonmaker.
Yeah, it's a bit like Mecha Godzilla.
Oh, what's that? Oh, it's like Godzilla but mecha. Oh, nice. Yeah.
That is right, actually.
Did you? Sorry.
No, go on.
Simon, did you say that you'd watched Shin Ultraman?
No, I was.
Didn't know there was a Shin Ultraman.
Yeah,
It's more these shit things.
I was making a joke about that, because essentially it couldn't really be, because we discussed about Shin being either new, true, or God, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Shin can't really be God, because it'll be God Ultraman, and it just looks and it sounds wrong, because essentially every time he does this with his laser beam, and it's like does this with his hands, that's literally the hand movement of his laser beam. It comes out of his arm. I don't know why. It's just the way he's made, right? But every time he does this, and he's called God Ultraman, it looks like praise be Jesus. And I said that to my brother, and he just fucking cracked up laughing because he's just like, Jesus Christ, be of you.
How would you like your Shin, true, new, or God?
Yeah, to be fair, like talking realistically about that, about the use of Shin. One, the kanji could be different if you're talking about Ultraman, but two, because one of the things that I imagine some people might think is like, oh, it'd be silly to call him God Godzilla, and it's like, well, no, that's not what he would be called, because it's the Americans who call him Godzilla. It's the Americans who use the word God. When Japan refers to him, they call him Gojira.
Kevin.
It isn't actually the use of the word God. So that is why I think it's arguable that it could be true, new, or God, any of them in this, because like,
they actually brought up the actual Americanization of Godzilla, I thought was good.
I thought that was a particularly cringy fucking crap bit.
No. It's been an argument since like time ever since Godzilla existed.
No. I just meant the expositional bit of it, and it's just like, oh yeah, Gojira means God incarnate. That's why he put God in the English name. And I was like, thank you, honey. Very good. Cheers.
Yeah, with that woman, right? Yeah, she's not the best.
Where is her Where is Azara?
her accent is like, sometimes she's speaking Japanese in like a totally normal way, and I think you're probably right, Simon. Like, the reason why it's probably mostly like normal Japanese, and then sometimes the grating kind, is because it's when she's trying to be the pretty girl. But I don't know. I hate it. Maybe it's because I haven't watched actual anime for a long time. I mostly just read manga now. but I every time she spoke like that, I was just sitting there like, man, I love the Japanese language. I love how it hears. How it hears? Fucking hell. I don't like the English language apparently.
It hears me as I speak it.
I love how it sounds. Like I love all the emotion you can feel from everything. But her accent when she's doing like the Americanized sort of sounds, I'm like, oh, please stop talking.
Yeah, she could be either in this movie or an adult version of this movie, and she would still be the same person.
No, she'd need more of a tan if she wanted to be in the adult version.
I just,
no, you're right. You're right. You're right.
What's up, Rob?
Just going back to the new true or god thing. So I was like, oh, maybe if I just like copy and paste the title of the film into Google Translate, maybe it will tell us one of them. It translated it to Shin.
Yeah,
So leg bone Godzilla it is.
Yep. It's because that's what he was missing when you first find him. And that's why he couldn't stand up.
I don't know if that was the definitive thing he was missing.
Do you want to get sued?
Yeah, like I don't want to ramble on too much about just being disappointed about the whole thing, but yeah, I feel like this movie could have been so much more. What's up, Simon?
I was gonna say, what was everyone's favorite scenes? Because I'm pretty sure yours
Hang
and
on.
my.
You wanted to interrupt me to move on to a different segment.
Oh no! I was gonna say it first.
Simon's got a schedule and he's working toward the end of it.
Right.
But that's literally what I was planning on moving on to.
Oh, sorry.
Simon, this is my movie.
Okay, sorry.
I'm kidding. No,
what you're saying is very, very interesting, but we need to come into the end as soon as possible.
Well, it's not even the end; it's like the middle.
I don't know if the favorite scene's the middle. The favorite is favorite scene, then final thoughts usually. But anyway, I was gonna wrap up what I was saying, ask if anyone else had any specific things to say, and then I was gonna ask about favorite scenes. Right. So yeah, does anyone have anything specific they want to talk about the movie, good or bad? Pat, yes. You're allowed to just shit on it if you want to.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Rob, you actually said something earlier about being Godzilla deniers, but you didn't talk about the people who were Godzilla fanatics. Like, yeah, Godzilla, the new god, yeah, he's gonna be our savior.
I was going to mention that, but I couldn't. Like, even though I just watched it today, I couldn't remember if that scene
Stop it, Humphrey.
Was actually happened. Like, I was like, I'm sure I remember that, but it's such an anime like scene that I was like, maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I did like that because I don't know. I just wish that there was a little bit more of it. Like I wish that I don't know. Maybe the government came into some kind of issue with I don't know these because I don't know. Like so
you got to remember it's Japan.
Sorry, I just
they're very different.
I just pictured him walking into a fucking Godzilla themed furry convention. And he's like, "Come on,
oh dude,
excuse me." Well, just slight correction, scaly.
Oh right, yeah, that's technically true.
That's okay. I'm fine not knowing that.
No, it's too late now. Carry on, Rob. Sorry.
Yeah, no, one thing I was thinking of, right? So it goes back to those guys moaning about making a law about it. And what I was thinking back to is at work, we're doing this. It's basically a low traffic neighborhood project, but we can't call it a low traffic neighborhood project because when people see low traffic, they go, "Oh no!" So we're calling it the Livable Streets project. And the reason we're calling it a Livable Streets project instead is because it's an election year. So like I was just thinking like when they started saying like, oh, what are we going to call this law? I was like, oh, it's election year. So I was thinking like even just something like that would have been interesting where there's like something competing against them dealing with this rather than it just being like a straight kind of like here's a disaster, let's deal with it, because that's not how governments do things. Like,
that's the thing. Like, sorry.
That's it.
I completely agree with you. Like in general on the idea, but like the way Japan works with like their government instruction, everything, it's very much the government tells you what to do, you do it. Like it's not quite the way it is here. But I had the same kind of thoughts of like imagining if something like that happened here, both in terms of how stupid it would be, like having red tape everywhere, and also thinking about how our response was to COVID and comparing it to like we'd have died long before that thing evolved into. I don't want to say final form because I like to believe that it had more evolution to go through. Just it would have happened in the second movie. But yeah, like I completely agree. It would have been cool to see that. I just don't think it would necessarily be accurate to like how Japan works. So it probably would have come off strangely.
And
Well,
also,
this is another thing, like sort of just I don't know. Well, I suppose a little bit of an issue that I had with it is that yeah, it's culturally very Japanese in that
Mm.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
it's not quite a cool job film, but it's very much a like you are defined by your job film.
Yeah.
I would say on that note as well, because politically speaking, right, in the movie wise, a lot of like the higher ministers did get like annihilated, right? So there's that issue. But also the reason why it took so long for them to do all that other sort of like get the helicopters and all that shit in is because Japan doesn't really have an army. It's the American.
I don't think that's what Rob's saying though. I think he's saying more like he wanted to see like combative things to getting stuff done that were basically stupid. Like
Yeah.
not realistic reasons. Well, actually, yes, realistic reasons, but
Well,
like we can't get the tank over there because on a Sunday there's no tanks allowed through that area. Like something not that stupid, but kind of.
Well,
Well,
just
I
like going off those the things that the thing that they put in where like people had started basically worshipping it.
Mm.
Like even just something like, oh, we've got to approach this carefully now because most of our voters have taken to it as a god. Like just something
Yeah,
like
or
that.
like they'd be setting up for the attack, but then you'd have like people standing around Godzilla like in a big formation, being like, "No, this is our god."
Yeah.
Like,
or just like focus groups say that it's good for Japan. Or just
yeah, and like
yeah.
again, I don't think it would work in a Japanese Godzilla movie, but I do think that would have been interesting in general, if that makes sense.
Just picturing Pat just wandering around, just going like, "Oh, I'm enjoying this." Just like-
But yeah,
If
like
Pat was in it, he'd be going, I don't think it's going to be a big problem. It's like, Pat is killing people.
no, it looks like it's got Down syndrome.
and Dan just
shit.
turns around like, "Oi." But yeah, like basically like Rob said, like that I don't know what it's like these days because my knowledge of like Japanese structure and like their like culture stuff is probably pretty outdated, but the whole basically what you said, the whole you're defined by your job thing, like that's your entire worth, that is a very Japanese prospect. Like I still remember, I assume it's probably gotten better in recent years, but I remember hearing a story about a Japanese person who came over to, it was either America or England, I don't remember which, and they'd like been made to go to the doctor by one of their friends because they just didn't seem right. And they described their symptoms and the doctor was like, "Oh, you have depression." And the Japanese person was like, "What's that?" Because in Japan, depression doesn't exist. You just work until you fucking die, because there's like genuinely instances of people who worked so hard in just an office job that they die at their desk. Like that's not unheard of in Japan. Again, I'm hoping things have improved over the years, but that's how bad they can be there. So like when you see all these people in political office, like that's the thing, when a politician in a movie that's based in Japan says, "I'm going to do my best to save this city or to save the civilians," they actually mean it. Whereas like if a politician says it here, you're like,
No.
We'll have a party instead.
But see, like,
Yeah.
that's where I find it like a little bit, I guess, emotionally confusing, because it's sort of like, we got to avoid collateral damage, and I'm like, are you upset by collateral damage, or are you upset that collateral damage makes you look bad?
It's the second one.
Yeah, definitely second one.
Like 100%.
Yeah, no, because like yes,
that's
the
what makes
guy
you go
on
like,
TV, right?
"Oh, you guys all fucking suck."
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same kind of thing of like, if you look back at even if you look at our country, if you look back at things that were normal in our country before, like in this game I'm actually playing at the moment, someone in it said something. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but I actually thought it was quite an interesting thing to consider. They were talking about ritual sacrifice, like when you would offer up like a child to a quote unquote god or whatever. And someone was like, and then someone was like one of the kids was saying something like, "Oh my god, that's so horrible. How could they do that?" And then the guy was like, "Well, you've got to remember, like we can't really judge past like normalities by today's standards. Like obviously to us it's incredibly deplorable, but it was completely normal to them back then, and like it was necessary to them." So in a similar way to that, like us comparing our morals to people in Japan isn't necessarily fair, but at the same time, you know, in the world we live in today, I do feel like morality is kind of a more worldly coherent thing, if that makes any sense, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. And
no, Alec.
Well,
so what I mean, like I'm basically arguing against myself. I'm arguing against myself. I'm saying like it's not necessarily fair to judge like how a Japanese person would react to a situation.
Oh, sure.
But I'm also saying, to be fair, because of like in the day and age we live in now, with how, you know, information is shared all across the world, morality is more of a group thing than it used to be, like across the entire world. So like we should generally have a similar kind of morality, but it's not always that easy.
Yeah, I do think it's like a wider kind of cultural conversation, but like,
yeah, absolutely.
By the time I think it this is why I didn't put Impact like that high in terms of like my personal kind of thing, because I was sort of going I was like you seem to be approaching this like you're trying to balance like a statistic sheet to make yourself look good, and it's like that is entirely a cultural thing. But the offshoot of this is that I go, I'm really not invested in you as a fucking person. I'm really sorry.
Well, to be fair, counterpoint to that is, while that is very much more of a Japanese thing in general, like, you know, trying to make yourself look good, you know, thinking about afterwards and stuff like that. Think about our country and how we reacted to COVID, and like how politicians, even with Brexit, everything, even in our country, politicians are always trying to make themselves look good, and not really addressing the actual issue. So like it's a similar kind of thing.
Oh yeah, and I get vilified for that.
Oh, actually, and also in movie they had this conversation very politically, where it was like, yeah, because you can, with the lady that I can't remember her name, but I just remember her as the lady with the twirly hair. I was having a conversation with the prime minister.
The lady with the twirly hair.
I don't know what. Do you remember her name? Do you honestly remember her name?
No,
Okay.
I don't remember anyone's name, to be fair, apart from Yamaguchi.
Okay,
whatever his name was.
I remember.
But the point is that they have the conversation with her, and she's like, we want to work exclusively with the American government, and the American government can help sort it out. But they were like, no, we want to ask the help from like the Germans, the Russians, and all the other people. That's why they had essentially the Japanese version of Monarch come in, right? And they built up. But even like even everyone else, like the German goes like, when they're walking out of the meeting, you're like, we have to like stop Godzilla like in Japan, right? You can't come over to Europe. I guess we have to kind of nuke them, right? No, because like it was a discussion with
I'm imagining the legit discussion.
You know what I mean? Like, all right, in real life, right? It's just like someone just going, there's a big threat. Might have to nuke Japan the third time, even though the nuke is kind of why Godzilla exists in the first place.
And like, yeah, I really like that element of the story. I think like Ben mentioned it earlier, where like they kind of go, we might have to nuke Godzilla, and you're just like, oh, mate, mate, I don't
also
know
probably just a
about
bad idea, because he clearly like gives off
radiation,
which means if you nuke him, he might just get stronger.
Yeah.
I was actually expecting that slightly, right?
Yeah,
thought
so
like
was
a
I.
nuke-
I was like,
nuke
hang
is
on.
gonna eat up all that radiation. It's like, oh shit, we made it worse.
And I was like, oh, okay, so yeah, I appreciate that they found a different way to do it, and I really like the way they do it, where like they just kind of keep triggering his reactions until they get him to actually like fall over and like just keep fucking injecting him with the cryogenic stuff.
I did think it was hilarious that that's how they did it. Like, I like it, but I find it hilarious that they knocked him down and then just went, quick, pump it in his mouth.
I like
Oh,
that
yeah.
they calculated that shit. They were
Yeah,
like,
twice.
right, we hit him with these, he will fall directly this way, so we'll have all the cranes here. And I was just like, fuck me. No way. You should do the lottery, guys. I feel like you'd win something. But like, but yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm just kind of like, I wasn't completely on board with your motivations for doing this, but in fairness, that way actually worked, because if Godzilla came to England, then our management would go, right, well, I'm going to Barbados, bye. So you go like, oh, cool. Cheers.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I really liked that. I'm glad you brought it up, Simon, because I was literally about to talk about it. I really liked that German scene, because the first part of that, I feel like, is unfortunately how most of the world would react. Is even if, like, let's say it happened exactly the way it happens in this movie, that it happens in Japan, all the world knows about it, obviously, and then someone from Japan is like, we need your help to do this calculation to try and stop Godzilla without having to nuke our country again. And I guarantee you that the answer would be fucking no, or they just wouldn't respond, because they're like, well, no, hang on, that would mean that we'd have to give them our secrets, or even if they did help, it would be extremely delayed, because they'd be doing it in a way to make sure they didn't give them any information or any like additional prizes or whatever alongside it, which I fucking hate, because that is legitimately what would happen. So I was so glad that in this fictional movie there was that completely fictional character that would not exist who went, no, we should help them, because fuck me.
It's the right thing to do, right? And like,
and unfortunately there's not enough of those people. Well, no, there's enough of those people. Unfortunately, there's not enough of those people in the right position, because to get in that kind of position, you need to be a fucking cunt. Sorry, Ben, what were you saying?
Yeah. I was going to say, what country was it that helped them in the end? Was it Germany? Right?
It was Germany.
Yeah, all right, Ben. Yeah, you want the
double. Which country was it again that helped them?
Who were the good guys this time again? Was it us?
Ben, you've got to also remember that the royal family is German and one of them's a nonce, so...
Do you imagine being Germany in that one, just kind of going like, yeah, we did Hitler. However, we do also
technically speaking, Godzilla is the Hitler of Japan, so...
We've got a bit of leverage
Hitler was
now.
Austrian, so it doesn't count.
He's not remembered for being Austrian.
Unfortunately, though, it's not the first time they've been on the same side as Japan.
Yeah, well, as far as we
But yeah, okay, right. Unless anyone else has anything specific they want to talk about, I think we should go on to favourite scenes.
My favourite scene is when...
Hang on.
No,
shut up, Alec. No? Okay, go on, Alec.
Well, now I don't know what
happened there.
What happened there is that Alec just immediately sped into it while it looked like Simon was about to say something, but now Simon's changed his mind. Stop looking at your phone, Simon. Shut up. So Alec is now going to actually talk about his favourite scene.
Oh, now I don't want to.
Okay, Ben, what's your favourite scene?
Was it the bit where Germany intervened and saved everyone?
The world was saved once again.
By
Germany. Man,
I can't think of what.
I can't suspend my disbelief that much.
Oh.
Anyway, right. Because Ben's lagging, we actually do all need to shut up for a second. So, Ben, what was your favourite scene?
I think when he finally gets in his final form, or at least the form that we recognise, and everyone realises, this now he means business, and obviously they the government try to think of this counterpoint. It's basically the first attack they have with all the jet fighters and all the tanks, and everyone you work in unison to try and get Godzilla down. And everything they seem to do isn't having an effect as they wanted. So I thought that was cleverly constructed, how you could and shot as well. You can see all the tanks just literally firing everything they've got at Zilla, his feet, and then his face.
Zilla, is that his Twitter profile?
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot not to talk while you're talking. Sorry.
But that part was just brilliantly done, because I thought the CGI and the model work and the man in the suit just worked really well.
Okay, who would like to say their favorite scene next? Dan.
If I can interject.
What?
No, you can't. Shut up. Dan, go.
It's probably similar to Ben's, where it's basically where the bomb goes in his back, and it blows up, and he's
so
just
good.
like,
you actually see it have an effect on him.
he's like, fuck, and he starts destroying everything.
Yeah. But you know it's only because he's not fully developed yet. At least to me, like that's what that scene shows as well. Is like, this is such a big impact on them, and he's not even finished. Like if they actually had let him fully complete himself, that's not a good sentence.
I think you were looking for culminate.
That's my favourite part of this film this week.
But he did it to completion. Anyway, sorry.
Favorite scene is something that John says on the call.
It was my movie, but yeah,
he completed on his tail.
Oh yeah, his tail. I did like what they did with his tail in this movie. That like I don't know if any other Godzilla version has done that before, but I love the fact that because he's still forming as Godzilla, like his tail, it wasn't really like, it was a tail, but it was one prehensile, like obviously, but just the fact that he could shoot out of the tail. I didn't like him shooting out lasers everywhere because I thought it looked like a fucking light show, but the tail I thought was really cool.
I was going to say the convenience of the lasers hitting the rockets as well was a bit fucking iffy. It's like, oh, we're going to drop all our rockets on here. It's like, and then there's, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a self-defense mechanism, wasn't it? Like it felt things hitting it from multiple angles, so it adapted because it's going through the evolution process so quickly. Like I think that's kind of reasonable. But sorry, Rob, what were you going to say?
I mean, there was one bit where I thought I think it was maybe because of the shape of the tail, because it was like it had like the stub at the end. I thought they were going to do the thing where like, how some lizards can drop their tail as like a sort of defense mechanism. I thought they were going to do something like that, and I was like, man, that's going to look disgusting. And I was like, I was really gearing myself up for it, and I was like, no, I've just pulled this out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I never would have had that thought, but that completely just put a whole thought in my head of, imagine if he just like condensed energy into his tail and like launched it as a bomb, like rather than a laser.
I just imagined him like running through Tokyo and dropping it behind him while it like wrecking balls its way through.
See, now that you've said that, I'm imagining him running through and just dropping a little turd, but keeping running.
When that happened, I was like, man, imagine like just this fucking tail thing, and it's like spawning little Godzillas, but it's also like a destructive weapon. And I was just like, to be fair, if I was the size of a skyscraper, my piss would probably be really, really destructive.
Like, yeah, I mean, I reckon your piss is probably destructive enough as is. Like, yeah,
it's
imagine pissing all over buildings.
It's definitely the most flammable piss here.
I don't know about
that. You look like you took that as a challenge, Simon.
Well,
no, I was like, that's a big. I mean, if you've got brush, go to the doctor, I guess.
Well, to be fair, a recent thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if this is a common thing because I haven't actually looked it up on Google to see if it's things that people experience, but I've noticed that a currently common side effect of me eating spicy food is that the temperature of my pee rises. So my pee feels spicy, so I feel like I could shoot out a laser.
I enjoy that you like searched it on Google and was just like, when John O'Brien eats spicy food.
No,
does his
I
He
piss
said I
go-
pisses
didn't.
lava.
I said I didn't search it.
Oh, right.
Why is it spicy?
I reckon from mine and Simon's reaction, it's probably not that common.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can't imagine Googling spicy food hot dick. That's not-
No, I'm going to type spicy food hot piss.
Leave safe search
Top
off.
Gun 3 hot dick.
Oh, you know Tom Cruise would as well.
Oh yeah, no. Apparently, spicy food raises the acidity of your urine. So depending on depending on your hydration levels, that would make sense. And I've been really bad at drinking water, so
Water.
that's probably the bit. Water is the only word that I say that I like, because it's obviously the way I talk isn't intentional. It's just how I talk. I enunciate a lot, but water is one of the only words that for some reason I over enunciate when I say it, or I just say water.
You're really bad at drinking water.
I enjoy just Sig Pat going water, and you're like, look, the thing with water, Rad, is that I over.
Well, no, it's because it's a legitimate thing that I notice all the time.
I just want everyone to know that I over enunciate words every now and then. Just
That's not what I said. I just said water specifically.
Water.
But yeah, anyway, right. So we've had Ben, we've had Dan. Rob, did you say yours or?
No, I haven't yet. No, I think mine is like, I don't know. It's more of a scene that probably would have been my favourite if, well, it kind of is anyway. But I think that the CGI on it is really wafty. It's the it's the one I think it's when he evolves into his third form, maybe, you know, the one where he's like, and then he sort of like
when he
rampages a
opens
bit.
up his mouth like a vampire from Blade.
Yeah. I thought that was such a cool idea. I really liked the visual of it, and then like just like the far shots of him in Tokyo, I thought they looked really good until I paid a bit more attention and realised that it was very obviously was first in. Like, but
I mean, forget about how it looked and just think about the concept.
Yeah, I really like the concept of it. I really like the concept of the gills with the blood as well, but it looks so crap.
God, that's the. It's such a cool idea. It's so disgusting and interesting, and it looks awful.
Yeah.
But no, I really like the idea. I thought it was a really cool visual, but it's just like, I don't know if maybe it was like what Simon was saying earlier about like them having budgetary issues. I had a feeling that maybe that was one of them, because I mean, even just that, like there was points of that where Godzilla was like a little bit out of focus. And then also the CGI overlay of it all was a bit weird, like where it had like his skin was kind of like rippling.
Well, that's the thing.
That was on purpose.
Well, no, that's the thing. Because when we were talking about it, and I said I was pretty sure it was a guy in a suit, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I can see the CG like overlaid over it." When I got to the scene that I'm pretty sure you're talking about, I was like, because I completely forgot about this. I was like, maybe Rob thinks this is what they're doing here. But I mean, Simon can correct me if I'm wrong because he probably knows more about it than me. But I took that not as the CG being overlaid over the suit. That was to show his metamorphosis. Like that was part of his body like changing.
Yeah. Like I think there was sorry.
I was gonna say. Oh, sorry. I was gonna correct. I was gonna confirm what John was pretty much saying. Yes, it was metamorphosis of him like evolving, right? But the only reason that is because of the director. That director also made the Attack on Titan film, and that's supposed to be a homage to the Colossal Titan. I know you're really upset about hearing that, but that is
I am very upset about hearing that, especially because I don't particularly like the anime of Attack on Titan. But anyway,
but that's that because he
Rob.
did that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's just. I think like the whole thing, like everything in that scene was a really good idea, and I think it was all. It was just let down by the CGI. I think, like, it's just.
I do remember
it's a shame.
just going like, wow, that is the CGI like fucking up? And I was like, oh no, it's meant to be doing that. It just looks terrible. Okay,
That's the problem. Like again, that's like I keep saying, like that's the kind of stuff that bums me out because this isn't a shit movie that was made badly. This is a movie that could have been like really, really good, but you know, the budgetary stuff and certain decisions and directions they went with things, like you can see it under there, like trying to break free, but it can't. But yeah, again, like I don't know enough about the different versions of Godzilla or whatever, but I loved the fact that at first I was like, what? But at the same time I was also like, that's so cool. Like normally he's just like, yeah, he just opens his mouth. He's got a normal fucking lizard mouth, but instead he fucking opened it like that. And I assume again, it's because he was still actually evolving and forming himself. But I still thought that was really fucking cool.
Yeah, they're all great ideas, like you say. Yeah.
I really like most of the shots of him just like roaming around Tokyo, but it's just I don't know. They linger for
Tokyo. I'll just pop over to Akihabara and get some games.
Even the one where like his goofy face is just kind of like coming towards the camera, like even that I thought was a really nice shot, but it just lingers long enough that you go like, oh god, this is very obviously put together.
I love this around. It's just going like, oh wow, fucking hell, Jollibees, way.
Yeah, that is the other problem. Is that like when you are hit with budgetary constraints, like you have to make the most of what you've got, so you don't focus too much on the moments that are gonna look bad. Like that's just to go on a slight tangent. That's what I hate about certain, you know how like obviously games have come way advanced compared to what they were back in the day. Obviously, we don't really use sprite-based stuff anymore unless it's very specific. There are some really amazing sprite-based games out there, but too many of them, they just make a sprite and then they make a game and it's shit, because back in the day when they made them, they were pushing the limits of whatever system they had. They were doing 200% of work, like trying to get the most out of everything. Whereas the people who do it now, they just go, oh, I could make something that's 1,000%, but instead I'm going to do 5%. So it's shit. And that's kind of parts of this is how I feel about that, where, you know, they didn't make the most of what they had. They kind of squandered a lot of it. If any of that made any sense.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'd be interested to like watch a little bit more about it, because I was watching something like a little featurette type thing where they were talking about like the models that they'd made for each stage of the evolution and that kind of thing, and like all of that stuff is really cool. But it's just it's the way that it's the end product, because I think this is the only film that I can think of where I've been like very aware that like a model of something isn't the scale that it's supposed to be. Like I was very aware that like I was watching a miniature, which is it's a shame.
It's like the follies of old thing, like the excuse me, sorry. You make a plan and it looks really fucking cool, and you're like, yeah, this is going to be great, and then you run out of money, and then it ends up being a building that just deteriorates over 1,000 years because nobody ever finished it because you ran out of fucking money. Except it's a movie, so it still gets released.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to them, like if what we are talking about is because of budgetary problems, then I do think that they probably like focused the budget on the right scenes.
Yeah, I would say, apart from again the one, I mean, fuck it, I'll just go into talking about my favorite scene because it's related to this. My favorite scene obviously is the one where he does the classic Godzilla cry and then like unleashes his atomic breath. I think that looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, that was a really good scene.
It's good both for people who don't know Godzilla and people who are massive fans, because you've been waiting to hear that noise, because you know that like it's always the same cry.
Sorry, just quick tangent. It's not. They use 3 different Godzilla cries from 3 areas of Godzilla. Sorry, end of tangent.
No!
Right, but they all sound basically the same. So
Yeah, fuck you, Simon.
Okay, I'll let you have that.
no, like genuinely, like I'm not surprised that there's different like pitches and tones or whatever, but they all sound, at least to me, similar enough that like you at least know it's Godzilla is the point I'm making.
Okay.
So hearing that is what started the goosebumps, and then obviously you're seeing the lighting up, and you're like, you know what's about to happen. If you don't know what's about to happen, I mean, Alec can tell me what his reaction was, but I think it'd be like, holy shit! Like, I was not expecting him to suddenly shoot out fire and then a nuclear laser.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I think I was just one of those ones where I was like, I just kind of let it wash over me for a bit, and I was just like, fuck me, man.
Yeah, like, but yeah, that's why that's my favorite scene, because it's just so good on all levels. So like what Rob was saying, I agree, they focused on the right sections with some of the stuff, but then you go on from that to when he shoots lasers out of his back, and that looks fucking awful, because it literally just looks like someone, like you're at a gig and someone's at the back just twiddling the dials, is going do 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 do, and it's like, no, they should have spent some of the time on that scene or not done it, because that they focus on that scene quite a bit and it looks a bit naff.
Yeah, it's based off his other abilities that he used to have, but they like upgraded it. But they upgrade it looks wrong, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's the thing. I'm fine with it being an ability, even though I personally didn't know about it existing. Whether it existed before or not doesn't really matter to me. But it's just the way they executed it. Like him doing that, I think is totally reasonable, because his evolution is based on like adaptation as well as the nuclear stuff. So, you know, he's responding to the threat at that point in time, which requires, rather than one concentrated beam, is just multiple sort of lower strength beams. But it just looked like someone was sitting there with a pen laser just going dee, 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 dee. It was fucking rubbish, and it really bums me out.
I didn't actually have a problem with that scene, I thought.
Really?
No.
Oh wow! I thought it looked like, compared to his actual breath, compared to when he uses it with his tail, the beams that come out of his spine, I think, just look dreadful.
It's like it could have been better, but for me, it was like, I'll let it pass.
Oh yeah, like it doesn't break it for me, but like just because we're getting into the nitty gritty of like where they spent the money and where the CG looked good and didn't, that did, like, it bothered me enough to make a note in my head of it, of being like, like that was a bit silly.
Yeah, I was okay with it. Like, I do think like that was like kind of my first point of going like, oh, we can just fucking do that. Okay, all right. But like,
he could do whatever the fuck he wants, I guess.
I was just like, oh god.
Yeah.
But,
sorry.
Yeah, like you said, no, it does. It is like a defense mechanism kind of thing, and I was like, yeah, it makes sense he'd do that. He is like a walking nuclear reactor. He needs to kind of let energy out where he can, and it's like, yeah, no, I can see that. I don't think it looked that bad, to be honest. But
to be fair, like, this is gonna make me sound so fucking smarmy now, but obviously, like, I have.
Yeah.
I'm more of a videophile than you. I always get the impression of. So, like, I think I'm more picky about that kind of stuff. Not as picky as Dan as an artist, but I'm like in the sort of, I'm closer to him than I am to you. Oh, sorry, we didn't even play it.
Well, John, I guess, like, have you watched any of the other Godzilla movies, or just cartoon?
I'm pretty sure I've only watched the cartoon. Like, if I have seen any other Godzilla movie other than the newer American one, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, I was about to say, it's like, but since the reason why I say I let it pass, right, is because Godzilla does stuff in like the older movies that don't quite make sense, but everyone lets it pass because it's like, it's Godzilla. Have you seen? I think you guys uploaded it on the chat, right, where Godzilla does the fucking flying kick with his tail, right?
Yeah. I thought you was going to mention this.
I love that, and I guess because it's from like the movie that I had on like VHS that I've always watched as a kid, because that scene is fucking amazing. But the other one is, have you ever seen Godzilla fly? You got, okay.
No. Does
Essentially-
he actually grow wings, or does he like use nuclear heat propulsion?
Second one.
I
He,
Yeah, I
turns,
thought so.
he turns around and he goes, and he just like flies off with his breath, and he's like spins like fucking Sonic, and it's fucking.
Okay, no, that is not what I was expecting. That's fucking stupid, and I love it.
It's so stupid. But even the people who are like in the movie are like, huh?
But that's the thing. It's never about it making sense to me, because like there's plenty of things that he could do that wouldn't make sense in the context of what they've shown he can do, and that would have bothered me. But like again, the laser thing, it's not that it didn't make sense. I just thought it looked a bit naff.
Yeah, but like
I just want to input myself in this scene and go like, contrive, then I explode.
but
No,
like
that's-
but oh sorry, Rob, go on, you go first.
No, I was just gonna say that that's the appeal of Godzilla. Like all of the old Godzilla films that I love, it's because I'm kind of watching it, going like, man, what
What
a
next?
disaster! But isn't it so silly?
Yeah, but it's so good.
That's
so
why
good.
Sentai stuff is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, like I can't remember the name of the particular monster he fights in my old VHS one, but Godzilla teams up with an off-brand Ultraman, and he has to fight off two kaiju's together. It's so good because it's so fucking stupid.
See,
But-
that sounds crap to me. I like
It is.
this one. I like this one where people are going, "Oh fuck, he just nicked like half of Tokyo."
No,
oh,
but-
oh my
but-
god.
No,
You
because
can
like
have both, to be fair.
I mean, Alex, there's
You
like
can have both, but I like this one where it's taken very seriously.
It's the two, it's the two versions of Godzilla. It's
Yeah.
Godzilla, the force of nature, Godzilla,
And then
the-
Godzilla the friend.
Yeah, Godzilla. No, I think it's called like Godzilla Monster Island. Godzilla is kind of like the description, because it's Godzilla and all of his kaiju mates that are on Monster Island, and it's like, oh, you guys have like, it's like a children's TV show. Yeah, pretty much. Like, he's got Rodan. Rodan has like stolen a slice of Godzilla's cake or some nonsense. It's really fucking stupid shit. It's
Oh man,
literally a
imagine
kid-
a nuclear cake. Fucking hell.
but it's like it's
Does he-
Godzilla.
Does he have Rodan syndrome?
That was a bit of a stretch of a pun there, man. But come on now, like that's even worse than my puns. Jesus.
I wouldn't go that far.
I
I
mean,
would.
I would.
Kablam!
But in any case, it's the two types of Godzilla. Godzilla, the big scary monster. Godzilla, friend of people, most of the time.
And then there's the idea, like, the one thing that always makes me laugh, because obviously I never actually watched it, but they did that King Kong movie, and then obviously they did the Godzilla movie, like American stuff. And it's supposed to exist in the same universe because they were planning on doing Godzilla versus Kong. And the idea of Godzilla versus Kong is always hilarious to me, because King Kong is just a giant ape. Godzilla, one, generally speaking, is way bigger than him, and two, can literally fire nuclear power out of his mouth. Godzilla King Kong can get taken down by humans.
Okay, no, sorry, because I think it was supposed to be based off the Japanese Godzilla versus Kong, which is funny because Godzilla somehow becomes like he had electricity powers and he can shoot electricity from his body, and
That's the thing.
one of
That's
the-
different then.
Yeah, but
But-
that's like one of the things that can hurt Godzilla, electricity. I was like, all right, I guess. Fucking-
Like if
fucking-
they can explain it, sure, but
Fucking, if I know right, all it is I think it was just like the old era. Godzilla. He touches like electric wires, and it's like he gets hurt from it. I just don't know why. It's like it's never
I mean,
explained.
it could make sense because, like, generally speaking, Godzilla's strength against like attackers is that he has like practically impenetrable like scales and stuff all over him. But despite like the nuclear power and stuff, electricity should still be able to pass through, unless they obviously give you an explanation for why it wouldn't. So, because like electricity is always a good thing to use as a weakness to things, unless you've
Yes.
obviously explained why they wouldn't be weak to it,
Oh, but
because
then,
it passes
okay.
into nerves and stuff like that. So that makes sense.
well, then one thing that doesn't really make sense is Godzilla getting taken down by King Kong because King Kong pulls up like a really large tree and stuffs it in Godzilla's mouth to stop the atomic breath.
No, I mean that would make sense technically speaking, because
Okay.
when you watch him form his atomic breath, at least in this one, it doesn't start off as the concentrated beam. So like the start of it would then get like put into it's the kind of idea of dragons, like, you know, they have a fire gland. They don't store fire in their body, like it creates fire that they expel. But if their mouth was like to get slammed shut somehow, the fire would still hurt them on the inside, because they don't, like, they're normally like fire resistant on the outside, but the, you know, your internal organs are still susceptible to things.
I guess, but like, if I can just find that GIF, it's really, really stupid. And I'll find it and I'll just send it to the chat. You look at it and you just think that's fucking weird.
Yeah. While you're finding that, Pat, what was your favorite scene? If you had one, you're allowed to swap it out for a worse scene if you would prefer.
I did think the sort of fire to beam thing was quite cool, so I suppose that would be my favorite scene.
Oh, it is really cool because it's just like, again, like, because that's what we would do if we were trying to like create. I mean, that is basically how we created lasers in the first place. I'm pretty sure is like you got to different levels of concentration. So it starts off as like obviously not fire, because that's not what a laser is, but I've just seen the GIF, you know. I mean, yeah, like, but that's a Japanese trope anyway, because like it's such a thing in anime of like, you know, the characters firing a beam out of their mouth or something, and then someone like slams their mouth shut, and then it's in fucking Dragon Ball Z. Like Pat will probably remember when I mentioned the specific scene, like when they're on Namek and Raccoon's shooting off a beam. Yeah, I'm gonna jerk it right with Pat now. And then he like slams him on the head, so he blasts in his mouth and he loses loads of teeth because of it.
The Raccoon boom.
Yeah, it's a one of the many Japanese tropes there are. But so Alec, did you say your favorite scene? I can't remember.
No, I think the standout is always going to be when he fires the beam out and it sets everything on like that. That's probably the most like striking one where you go like, oh, we're not fucking playing around. Like,
yeah.
Holy
Before
shit.
He was just knocking buildings over, and now he's destroying shit.
Yeah. But I think for possibly comedy purposes, I enjoy. I don't know if this is because it was off like the dub and he sounded like Seto Kaiba, where he's going like, have we considered that there might be a giant lizard under the water? Because I've seen online videos, and everyone's like, fucking hell.
Is that really the inflection he goes for with that?
Kind of, yeah.
That's so bad. How do you read that bad?
I was sitting there and I was like,
well, I guess it's about the direction you get rather than reading, because still. Everyone's
looking at him like, are you for fucking real? And then it actually happens and he's like, yeah. And I was like, you are fucking lucky, my friend.
That's the thing.
Like, you are so lucky that was actually what happened. You're a fucking insane person.
Well, to be honest, like there's a lot of the time...
videos.
Well, I mean, like everyone's camera phones are so up to date nowadays, so you probably be
considered a giant lizard.
Well, this is the thing. Like, unfortunately, the subtitles often actually made things worse for me. Like, I feel like there's times where I stopped reading the subtitles and just listened to the Japanese because it made more sense because I could understand some of it. That was one of the scenes I wish I'd listened to the Japanese for, because he says about it. And then the guy's like, this is no time for jokes, which is what he says. But then when it gets confirmed, the subtitles are like, oh, it looks like your joke might come to reality after all. But I'm not sure if that's what he actually said, and like I wish I could have heard the inflection more, because it sounds really dumb in English, but it's probably one of those things that would have, like, you know.
And then he died.
I was trying to call myself a weeb, but apparently it got rejected. Hang
Your
on.
body won't let you call yourself a weeb.
Oh, right. So obviously, I'm a massive weeb. I love the Japanese language. I think it's the language that conveys emotion the most out of any language I've ever heard. I saw that, Alec.
No,
Yeah, I fucking did.
nah, not me.
Yeah,
It's right,
but-
mate. Just sleeping on this on Thursday night. So
Oh no.
yeah.
Just don't piss on it. But yeah, so like that's why there's so many things that don't translate well to English from Japanese. Like for example, again, there's a new Digimon game out that I'm currently playing, and they literally translate a joke actually, like, but it doesn't work. I don't know why they didn't change it to something else, because hentai in Japan means pervert, but it can also mean transform, and they literally word for word translated it, apart from obviously hentai, because that doesn't have a literal translation. So I think deviant is the word they use. So someone was like, oh, what's a deviant? And then one of the characters was like, oh, it's when you change from one form to another, and like was acting all high and mighty, but it doesn't make sense in English. And that's the problem with subtitles in certain movies, is that they can't convey the emotion that the Japanese is actually giving. So sometimes it's more important to actually listen to how they're saying something rather than understanding what they're saying, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, we literally watched a Chinese OST, so yes, we definitely understand what you're saying.
Well, you do.
Oh yeah, I mean, I will be careful.
We're stupid Westerners.
Right,
Well,
so Simon, did we get your favorite scene? I don't
no.
think we did yet.
No, my scene is absolutely the same as yours. That
Yeah.
atomic breath scene is peak Godzilla.
Yeah, it's absolutely the best scene in the movie. Like, obviously, you have to have all the setup, and they make you wait for it, and that's why it's so good. But yeah, because even in the fucking American, like the recent American one, that again I enjoyed, but it's shit. I still got goosebumps and like was popping off about it when I saw him start lighting up. I was just like, fucking yes! I just scared my dog by mistake. Go back to sleep, Laz. I'm sorry. I'll see if I can show. He looks. No, he put his head back down. He was looking at me like with his ears just like out like Dobby. It was.
Yeah.
He was
He's
looking
fine.
at me with his ears. Is Rob all right?
No, he's dead.
Oh, okay.
No.
I always
Wishful
assume
thinking.
he's dead because he looks like a creepy motherfucker when you put him on a webcam.
No, that's not true. Hey, Rob, do you remember that time when I had
Stop
really
it!
long black hair and you didn't get up one day, so I came and woke you up and you thought death had come for you?
Yeah, I do. I remember that very well.
I'll never forget that. Like, I'm sure you've seen the old pictures, Alec, but I had long black hair, like dyed black, not because this is dark brown as much as it might look like black. It was dyed black, and I just stood over him like that, and I was like, Rob, wake up. And he looked up and was just like, ah!
It's Severus Snape.
Well, if he thought that, he probably would have been happy. Well, I don't know about happier.
No,
Less
I'd have been
Less
even more
scared.
terrified.
Well, no, now you would. Maybe not then.
Oh, I don't know.
Because you definitely wouldn't have been more scared, because you'd have been like, Snape, Severus Snape. Like, you'd have been all about that music video at the time.
Yeah, maybe, to be fair.
Right. Does anyone have anything specific they want to talk about? Like, final thoughts on the movie? Pat, again, you are allowed to shit on the movie. Like, I don't want you to feel like you can't. I had to shit before I came on the call.
There is one
Stop
thing.
coming on the call.
There is one thing that is a fan theory amongst all those people on the internet, Reddit especially.
Oh, all of them?
Most of it.
No.
But essentially, the point is the tail, right? With all the little people that were like skeletal people on it. Does the tail look slightly like a skull, like with teeth coming out of it?
Can I just say, I thought this was a joke you guys were making. I must have missed the part where there was people on the tail, because Like you guys kept saying it earlier, and I thought you were making it like I don't know, making a pun on pee and like penis, tail, or something like that. Like I was like, okay,
No. This is absolutely. This is like one of the ending shots of the movie. But the point is, it was it was to start at the beginning of the movie. There was the scene with the boat, right? And there was the guy, and there was dude's shoes. Supposedly that was. Okay. We'll see a live reaction here. It was like.
no, carry on. I'm just looking up the tail.
Supposedly it was the Professor Gojo, which is actually based off the original professor that found Godzilla in the original movie.
Yeah.
But essentially he committed suicide on top of the radiation by drowning himself. That's why he left the shoes. Like that's the Japanese version of like
What a
the suicide
dick.
note. Well, supposedly there's a debate online if he is actually Godzilla. Like
No, that's stupid.
no, I know. It sounds a bit weird, right? But it's like, what?
No,
Like,
it doesn't sound weird. It sounds stupid. Godzilla is its own thing. Like I can accept him being a part of Godzilla, but I absolutely refute the theory of him being Godzilla.
Well, that's the tail skull part. The tail, like, he is like a part of Godzilla because, like, the tail looks like a skull with like teeth and stuff, right? That's supposed to be him with like humanity, like pulling from him. But that's like a very, very weird fan theory about it.
Fucking hell! Like I must have just looked away at the wrong moment to have not seen this. This is fucking insane. Like
For the people.
See, now it makes more sense why he shoots it out of his tail. I assumed it just like happened. I didn't realize there's literally a fucking mouth there.
Yeah,
Like things happens.
Yeah, because like everyone says that's like a skull, and like that's supposed to be the professor, and it's like, oh, I guess, but not really. I don't
It's the central dichotomy of the piss hole, because it can dispense piss, but it can also dispense life.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from that. I mean, like, I'm fine with people having theories. I'm not going to poo-poo their idea, but I personally think that's rubbish. But looking at the tail now, like, that's so fucking cool because it's both literal and metaphorical of like Godzilla's creation, because obviously plenty of people would have died from radiation, like both from obviously the nuclear attacks and also them using nuclear power and stuff like that. So like just seeing the fucking skeletons all, because the metaphorical side of it obviously is like this is all of humanity like culminating into this thing. This is all like the negative side of humanity. That's fucking awesome. I'm so glad that I saw this. What the fuck? Like, sorry, that's fascinating to me. I wish I'd noticed that in the moment. Oh, I'm not actually talking, am I?
No. You're good.
I thought my thing ran out of battery because I looked around and it looked like Simon's mouth was moving, and I was like, "Oh shit! I've been talking to myself for like 5 minutes."
No. We're just agreeing with what you're saying. It's like, at least I'm agreeing with what you're saying. It has a certain like artistic touch to it, where it's like, they're like, well, they're not really Godzillas, but they're not really people. It's like a blend of Godzilla and a person, I guess.
Well, I would say, it's like it's not just metaphorical in terms of like the nuclear to him. It's also like it's kind of an evolutionary thing. Bless you. It's like it kind of like emphasizes the whole evolutionary thing that comes with Godzilla, and I think that's really cool. Like honestly, although my favorite scene is still the same thing, this might be my favorite new thing that they did. Like they should have focused on that more. That's fucking cool.
Well, they might have done it for the second movie that didn't get any.
Probably.
Yeah. So, who wants to watch Shin Ultraman now?
No.
I mean, to be fair, I was actually going to say to Rob, like, if he loves that kind of silly stuff from the other Godzilla stuff, like you'd fucking love like Ultraman and Kamen Rider and stuff like that. There's
Who Rider?
Kamen Rider.
Kamen.
Oh, okay.
Not coming. I'm coming, Rider. Oh.
Kamen Rider.
But yeah, obviously, like you've seen Power Rangers, so you know you get a general gist of like Sentai stuff. But Ultraman and like Kamen Rider and stuff like that
Oh no, here
are
comes Kamen
more to
Rider.
that degree. I'm trying to remember what the fucking there's another superhero. Maybe you'll remember, Simon. He literally his hentai is
Seaman
putting
motorcyclist.
underwear over his face.
Okay, no, that's a parody of Sentai Rangers.
No,
right?
it's a real superhero.
No, I know, no, it exists, right? But it's not. He's not actually part of that company. That company.
No. Yeah, I'm not saying that.
But no, Jesus, you made me unlock a memory. I didn't really want to unlock. Fucking gross.
Yeah. So you remember what I was saying about not you, Simon. You know this, obviously, but about how hentai means both transform and pervert. That's like obviously the idea of the Sentai thing where they like put their arms out in flashy poses and then they transform. His thing is he puts underwear on his face, so he's both being a pervert and transforming at the same time. And I've always found that hilarious.
Well, worst comes to worst, I'll just link Rob the old Godzilla film that I used to watch as a kid on VHS all the time. The one it's the one where he teams up with the off-brand Ultraman. I'll find it eventually, but it's just like I can't quite remember what it's called. I'll send it you. I'll send you like the title of it. It's definitely like the more stupid ones, right? That like everyone hates because it's so child friendly. But when you're when you're 8 and you're watching that shit, you're like, yeah, Godzilla, it's atomic breath.
When you're 8, you don't understand the significance of Kamen Rider.
Well, I mean,
Anyway,
yeah, well.
Going back to Ultraman for a second, that reminded me of something, which is actually, you know how I was saying that certain things in this movie, you need to find a balance between homages to old things and also using modern techniques, and you need to pick and choose so that it works. Ready Player One is one of those things that did a bad on that. Generally speaking, it was an all right movie. But what I thought was weird, because I know Ben's read the book. I don't know if anyone else has, but I really like Ready Player One as a book. And in the book, there's this like, he uses this thing. It's like a one-time use thing, and he turns into Ultraman, but like a super giant version of him. And that's a plot point at a certain point. Ready Player One as a book is all cultural references, but obviously of that time. When Ready Player One, the movie, came out, it was cultural references of current day. Like you could see fucking, I think Tracer from Overwatch was in there at one point. So like it was all modern day stuff. And then I was like, oh shit, so what are they going to do for Ultraman then? But they still used Ultraman?
Well, I mean, like,
and I thought that was kind of weird.
Well, it's very classical, right? And like,
right, but not in the West.
Yeah, but wasn't like one of the bad guys Mechagodzilla?
Yeah, but I think that's also from the original, so it's still the same point of like why change everything else to modern day cultural references if you were gonna keep those two the same? And also because they did too much in that one movie, it was like weird. Anyway, sorry, before we go off on too much of a tangent with that, we can talk about that afterwards because I don't want to just keep people around talking about other movies. But right. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it like kind of connects to this a bit.
Okay. Yes. All right. I guess
I just heard Ready Player One is shit.
I mean,
the movie isn't great. Like I enjoy it because I love the book, but like if I pull back from that, it's not a very good movie. Like I do recommend the book. I still need to read Ready Player 2. I've had it on my fucking bedside table for probably almost a year now, and I haven't read a single page. But yeah, I recommend trying the book. You might not, I don't know if you'll like it or not, because it is more for people in like the sort of gaming and like anime culture kind of stuff.
And it's also a book.
Well, I mean,
you love books. Shut up, Alex.
Do I?
Yeah, of course you do.
Nah.
Fucking nerd.
Oh.
I don't like books at all. I hate them.
Anyways. All right.
Who's a nerd? I'm not wearing a fucking an anime video game shirt right now. Who would
Rob,
do
you're
that?
such a fucking creepy bastard. Jesus fuck.
You leave Rob alone. You,
No.
you, Alec, you fucking leave him alone.
What
So-
about this?
Yeah.
Watch your film because I need to go to bed.
All right. Any ending statements?
I thought it was a really good movie that was let down by many things,
Yeah.
including its localization, unfortunately.
I was impressed, and it's a shame it's so cursed.
Oh man, that's what a lot of women have said to me.
I
I
thought it
was
was a
just
crock of shit.
And that.
okay. I was gonna say a roller coaster ride of really good bits and really bad bits. It completely
Yeah.
like
Oh, I wouldn't
I don't
go
know.
as far as to say the film was really bad.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd say there's several really good bits. There's lots of okay bits, and there's some bad bits. I wouldn't say there's any really bad parts.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
It's not Miss Marvel.
Anyways, so how about Ben, Dan, and Rob? Ending statements?
I think if the political stuff was a bit more nuanced, and if the dialogue was a bit less expositional, and if the CGI was a bit better, it would have been a brilliant film.
Yeah, but the thing about the expositional dialogue is it'd work if it was like a comedy kind of action film where that would work, where it's trying to be serious, so it doesn't really connect.
Not everything can be a Stephen Chow film.
Well, I agree with you
Thank
that
fuck.
it could have been better. I don't agree with you about why that didn't work. I don't know. Personally, I feel that's a weird comparison to make like exposition for an action movie.
Well, not actually. I mean, like you understand. You know,
Don't.
like if you
That's
watch
what I'm saying. It.
John's response was really, I don't understand. You went, well, the thing is, you understand. I was like,
you
no, he doesn't.
Um, Also, I'm putting production up to a 9 instead now because of the tail thing. Because I didn't notice that before.
Okay. So, anything else or shall we just call it a wrap?
I wouldn't call it a wrap.
It's good.
Godzilla in that. You'd have fiery shits, mate. But yeah, in all seriousness,
On that
do we
note,
have anything else, or should we move on to? Oh God, Dan's doubleheader.
Mm.
Oh, thanks, whoever did that. I was about to work out on my phone.
Tokyo Gore Police and Tokyo Gore Police
Look.
2.
I was literally about to start doing it. Whoever changed that for me, Rob.
No, it wasn't me.
Oh, okay. You started laughing, so I assumed it was you. Ben. Huh?
Me.
What?
Who the fuck changed it?
Change what?
Well,
Did nobody change it? And I just clicked on it myself. Hang on. Carry on, and I'll work
what
this
are
out.
you talking about?
Hang on.
No one.
But yeah, what are we talking about?
Hang on, I'll tell you in a
Dan's
sec. Just
pick.
carry on talking. Carry on
What you
talking.
talking about, Willis?
So, am I going to pick?
Yeah,
Can
go
I
on,
pick?
pick
Yeah,
it.
go.
So
I'd like to
pick-
interject, actually.
Oh.
Sure.
Shut up.
What would you like to say, Alec?
Dan's picking some good films, not like the ones he's about to pick. He's picking this one. No, sir.
So my two films are Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Boom.
Wait. The original Psycho
Holy
or
shit.
the remake?
The both
Original.
original.
Oh no.
Did you just say both of them?
Hang on. Oh, no, he said both originals.
Both
Did
original.
you just say the remake was shit? Because I heard it was pretty good.
What?
Never mind.
I'm picking the original Psycho, the new Psycho.
No, both original. films.
Yeah. I heard what you said.
Fuck you.
No, I was right. Someone did change it. What I'm saying is I changed my score
Oh.
on the spreadsheet, and then somebody, I think Rob's lying to me, and it was him,
It
changed the
really
total. Who fucking changed it then? Because everyone's denying it.
Oh, it was me. I changed
Oh.
the average.
Fucking hell. You were the only person I assumed it wouldn't be because you're reclined.
I can change formulas from whatever position I'm in.
No, but like, you look like you look like you're not doing anything. You look like you're about to fucking pass out.
I could be
Ali-
upside down. I could change this formula.
Ali could drink a six pack of beer while asleep. So laying
Yeah,
down
but that's
on the
alcohol.
spreadsheet.
I wouldn't expect him to do anything sensible.
Speaking of which, here's number 8.
Oh, God. Right. You know what? I haven't seen Psycho for many years, and I've never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
I've never
same.
seen
It's
either.
fucking hard to say. You've
I've
never
never
seen
s-
Psycho?
You've never.
No.
I've
Fucking
never
hell.
seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The
What's
original
your
one, anyway.
fucking problem?
I just forget that you're a different age to us.
No, I was talking about Humphrey with this fucking whatever that is.